Good evening, everyone. Happy Halloween. We have officially entered the day that begins the spirits returning to the world. And what could be a more perfect day to talk about the American patron saint of the occult and horror, H.P. Lovecraft? Tonight, I am joined by an all star panel, and we will introduce them in just one second. But for hopefully the last day in a long time. Let's talk real quick about Empire of the Undying Sun. We've got 15 hours to go. What is Empire of the Undying Sun? It is the greatest horror campaign guide for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and 1st edition. Yes, there are two different versions. And what makes it great? Well, we start off with spirits and haunts in the woods, zombie invasions, swashbuckling pirate adventures, and should your players be daring enough, they may survive to make it to the Empire of the Undying Sun, a land where a god demands blood sacrifices, teeming with jungles uh, filled with wildlife waiting to devour your flesh. There are the cries of the dead at night on the sands of the deserts. There are plenty of ancient ruins filled with magical treasure or just death, and culminating with a mega dungeon that reshapes itself like a Rubik's Cube. And there, your players will have to make a decision that may change the fate of the world forever. Uh, Empire of the Undying Sun, also new character class, hundreds of new monsters. There is a talent tree, uh, optional talent tree for 5th edition, new backgrounds for AD&D 1E, and the Dream Realm. There are mechanics for you to play in dreams where you can contact other people, spirits of the dead, even gods. But with every dream, there are nightmares which may haunt you back in the waking world. And if your players are crafty enough, they can become somebody else's boogeyman. So, with just 15 hours left, Empire of the Undying Sun, back it while you can. And that is that. Uh, Being that it is horror month, I have one more show to do today, Friday, October 31st at 5 p.m. I have Peter Gilmore, artist extraordinaire, best known for his work on the Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter series, as well as the zombie superhero Super Dead, and he will come on. We're going to talk about classic horror films and if there are any modern classics. In addition, he's got a new book called River of Blood. And if you know Peter, you know there's going to be monsters and a lot of blood. So come check us out then. And tonight, we start our all star cast with artist, author, creator of Horace H. Hoover, the detective who wears what looks like a vacuum cleaner on his head, Fabrizio Aiello.
Good evening.
We have the youngest panelist, a man who has created his own superhero universe, much better than Invincible, in my opinion. We have author Vaughn Coleman.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, I'm new Lovecraft convert and enjoying it. I'm excited to talk about it.
We have, excuse me, we have perhaps the oldest member, the most wise and esteemed with his age, lover of classic comics, which you can see in his Heroic Tales series. John from John's Longbox.
How you doing? Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to this for a while.
We have author whose work includes the graphic novels for Case File Arkham, a Lovecraftian detective story series. Author of many other books, Scars, Titanium Rain, all of which are available on Zero One Publishing and over on Amazon. Jay Ishiro Finney.
Hello there, and yeah, Cthulhu, Fatagan.
And last but not least, rounding out the panel, we have the night editor herself, a woman who is an author, famous for editing the other half of Zero One Publishing, and all around Halloween enthusiast, Kat Rocha.
Good night, everyone. How you doing?
So this is the inaugural event for the super panel, as we shall hereby call it. So this is how we're going to do it. We are going to start with our number 10s, and I think we'll go in a circle to Fabrizio and then Vaughn, and then we'll go down to Kat and Ishi and finish up with John. And we're all going to say our favorite stories in the order that we put them in. It's okay, John. You can just make it up as we go along.
No, I'm looking at my list and I'm putting them in order as I go.
And then we'll talk about some of them. So, all right, Fabrizio, what is your number 10?
So this is one of my favorites. Is it 10? Is it 9? Who knows? But I just wanted to pick something that most people don't put in their top 10. Is The Picture in the House. I've talked about this before.
Nice.
It's a short story, great story. To me, it's probably the creepiest and scariest out of all the Lovecraft stuff for me. Man, a book, cannibal. If anybody doesn't know it, so that's my number 10.
All
I
right.
think I need to reread that. Like, I read it, but I don't know if it really. The ending was just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, it's just it's a claustrophobic story. You know, he's just in this really small room with a giant old man, you know.
Looks like Santa.
So,
I know Fabrizio and I have talked about this story a lot. This is actually my number 9, so I'm going to make it my number 10 just so I can talk about it now. But it hits on so many things that actually scare me. Like my friend Bob, we always used to talk about like houses are kind of scary because just a house, you just see the front of the house, see the bush, but inside there's people, and people have stories and secrets. He says the only thing scarier than a house is an apartment building because it's more. But so just picture this guy is in the woods and he just comes across a house. There's no road, there's no driveway, there's just a house built in the middle of the woods. And then he goes in and it's all old and he doesn't know if anybody lives there. And then he finds this book opened to a real photograph or a real, I forget if it's a wood carving of a horrific cannibalist scene from exploring Africa. You know, and like when you close the book, it like it, if you open it naturally, it opens to that page.
yeah.
And then, you know, he meets the owner of the house. It's just so creepy. And then the last thing is blood drips on him.
I thought what doesn't he get struck by lightning or something? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, that is the end of the
See,
very end.
I was reading, I was like, the tension, it felt like he just didn't know how to end the story. So just like, oh yeah, he gets struck by lightning.
Well, that happens in a lot of Lovecraft stories.
I know, that's why I was
Yeah,
that's why it's not in my top 10, because I was like, oh, the tension I'm feeling. Oh.
But once I realized that it was a real photograph, it made it scarier. You know.
Yeah.
So, Kat, what is your number 10?
Strangely enough, it's not that one, but it's The Shunned House. And the reason why that's in my top 10 is because I found out it's based on a real story. I mean, something that actually happened. What it was there was a vampire epidemic in New England where, as the history books call it, they thought that there was a blight of vampirism going through, and no small village was safe from vampirism coming and taking away their people. It was tuberculosis, as we know now. Also, since they were burying their dead in the winter time, the corpses were freezing. So when they'd go to dig them back up in the spring, of course they hadn't rotted. They were frozen in the ground. But people back then were superstitious, and this one gentleman, he lost his entire family pretty much to tuberculosis, and when he was told, oh, a vampire has cursed your family, and when he went to dig up his wife and his two daughters, one daughter was rotting, but his wife and one of the other daughters were not, and so he like burnt their bones and then rearranged them and put them back in the grave, but they lived two doors down from the house that Lovecraft's uncle owned, that Lovecraft grew up in. So when he heard about, so that story of basically his neighbor influenced this story.
Yeah, this is one that, again, I was listening to it a lot while I was like driving, like an audiobook, and it's one I want to dive back into. I know, because I think I appreciate it, but not as much. But one thing I felt is that he actually took some time with like the human characters at the end, which is very rare.
It is very rare.
I remember going, "Wait, is he feeling something for people?" I was like, "Lovecraft."
Yeah, he got the fifis.
There's like a handful of stories.
There were white New Englanders who were probably Protestant, so he like.
Yeah.
And they weren't poor.
Yeah.
Ishi, what's your number 10?
Mine are in no particular order, and I think I'm going to disappoint everyone. All my picks are the standard fare. I don't think there's anything that would really shock anybody or be a surprise. So I've got Shadow over Innsmouth.
At number 10?
Number 10? Wow.
Yeah.
That is shocking because it's number
Yeah.
10. Come on. That's crazy.
Well, just because it was highly influential doesn't necessarily mean it was the best. I mean, my feeling with Lovecraft is a lot of his stories, the ideas and the narratives are very, very solid, but the style itself often weighs it down. And I do say that is one of the problems with Shadows over Innsmouth is
interesting.
His style kind of weighs it down.
Wow.
See, it's weird because I kind of agree with you to an extent. And tonight, I guess I just read 3 in a row that I actually was like, oh, his style works really well for these stories. But there are times where I'm like, all right, dude, like it's a house. Okay. Why are we 3 pages into this? I think the Shadow over Innsmouth it works because it's like it's done. What I like about it, I don't think the story would have worked if it wasn't done through a first person perspective and if you weren't seeing it and like slowly making your way in. I think the way they ease you into the story, where they talk about that fight at the bar, where they talk about that the crown, oh, that kind of reminds me of my family. Then we kind of go in slowly on the bus, and it's like that's Innsmouth, and then you have the townspeople. I think the world building is so well done. This is where I would disagree. I don't think he's just like describing. I think it's so ingrained in the storytelling, and I think the atmosphere is one of the things that really resonates this story with me.
I love I'm sorry, Fabrizio. Go ahead.
Just real quick, the big low point is the esoteric Order of Dagon is just down the street. It's not like there's nothing. It's not a secret. Is it a secret society? They have a church. You know, it's a very odd thing for me.
Well, you've got to think about when it was written.
Yeah.
And the location. And the idea, I mean, it was directly lifted from the idea of these towns that were pretty much taken over by bootleggers.
Newburyport, right? Wasn't it Newburyport? Which is better now.
I believe so. I believe so. But yeah, in these small towns, which were pretty much their own little, almost nation state, isolated, their own economy, their own government. The laws didn't really much apply to them. And if the tax man showed up, he gets shot at.
Yeah, I love that the whole town is in on it.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
and so it's right there out in the open.
Right, they don't take too kindly to strangers. I find that terrifying. When I was a school teacher, I was off all summer, but all my friends, I wasn't married at the time. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. So it's like, what do I do with my time off? And I'm still getting paid. So I would just travel around the country. And every once in a while, I'm like, I'm in Innsmouth. Like it's too far away from the ocean to be fish people. These are probably lizard people or something. Like some towns just don't welcome me. And I find that like scary, especially when you're an Italian from New York driving in a red Trans Am and you pull up someplace in Missouri, they're just like, what can I get at this diner? Well, you could get lost. Oh, okay, thank you. And then that story has the scariest Lovecraft scene when he's in the hotel room,
dude,
and you see the door
Yeah.
shake, and you hear the oh my god, that is terrifying.
See, I I really like Shadow over Innsmouth because this is Lovecraft's attempt to write a story like his friend Two Gun Bob, who most people know better as Robert E. Howard.
Mm-hmm.
So they were swapping, and like Howard did Tower of the Elephant, which has all these Lovecraftian themes and a Lovecraftian god or space person or whatever you want to call it. But this was his attempt to write an action-oriented story. So this is really the only one that's this action-oriented. And for me, I thought he nailed it pretty well. And his style is very overly verbose. But I think this is one of the few that he cuts back on that, and then you don't have the same ending problem. Like a lot of Lovecraft stories, like you could tell he was hired to write a 10-page story, and on page 8.5, he's like, "Oh, something needs to happen now." So he just like crams his story into like a page and a half. But this is like actually well paced.
Yeah.
And you gotta appreciate the fact that a big chunk of the mythos is laid out by a thoroughly shit-faced sailor.
Did anybody buy the play set, the Assault on Innsmouth play set that they made back in the 80s?
Oh, geez, I wish I knew that existed. I want one.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, this is an ad in my comic book that Fabrizio did.
Damn, kind of want it now.
But if we hit the $100,000 stretch goal, that will become real.
Okay. Kat, you look up his Kickstarter.
Will do.
Now, I think the other thing that is kind of amusing about Shadow over Innsmouth is the fact that, in a sense, he starts to realize it works for them.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I think, again, the delivery of exposition. I had read Call of Cthulhu a while ago, and I was going on a trip, and I listened to the BBC audiobook. Have you guys ever listened to that? If not, you have to. The BBC audiobook of Shadow over Innsmouth is so good.
I think I have it, actually. So, yeah.
You can find it on YouTube. And I think just the meticulous, okay, we see this person. Oh, this person at the grocery store. They kind of know. Oh, then you get what's his name? Zadok Allen, right? Mm-hmm. On the beach, and he looks back and he's gone. And it's like, the bus stopped. You got to go to that hotel room, that specific hotel room. The horror is so good in this story. And it's also one of the few Lovecraft stories where I care about the protagonist and he has a clear arc. By the end, that ending is so, I'm like, no, they did not do that. It's so good. The ending, and it makes you go back through and you pick up new things. And you're like, oh, so that, I think it's so well done.
Well, my number 10 was The Evil Clergyman. And this is a fairly short story. I picked it because, you have to consider the time period when it was utterly shocking that a man of the cloth would be evil. and that there was one who was using the Christianity, like the veneer of Christianity, to conduct secret satanic rituals. And then also, it's one of the best examples of you really shouldn't delve too much into things that you shouldn't know about. So in the end, the main character, he finds out that somehow this evil priest either swap bodies or swap faces, and he's been out in the world doing things in the main character's name. So even though it's not one of the more popular ones, I think it's, when you put it in the context of the time that it was written, I think it was pretty influential. Now we would call that Tuesday, but back then it was kind of shocking.
I've been going down a rabbit hole with like esoterica and
Yeah.
books, watching all these YouTube. It takes me an hour to drive to work. It takes me an hour to drive home. So there's only so much comic book YouTubes that you could absorb. So other stuff gets recommended now. I'm like, Nephilim, okay, they're clowns. But one of the things they talked about was a lot of these books from witchcraft books were preserved because of the clergy.
Yeah.
And they said, like, it's becoming more and more understood that a lot of these necromancy tomes, grimoires, or whatever you want to call it, that a lot of priests were necromancers at night, and they didn't particularly view it as evil. They viewed it as like, I'm learning about the enemy, and so I could see like Lovecraft would know about this. He read all of these books, and probably was like, oh wow, these priests in the Middle Ages were reading necromantic tomes. What if they got corrupted by them? So that's my thoughts on that.
You bring that up. I have a book over there by Montag Summers, and it's his book on hunting vampires, but he also wrote 2 books on hunting witches and 1 book on hunting werewolves. And he was basically the spiritual hunter of the 1700s.
Oh, okay, these are real books by like a real person.
Yeah, Montag Summers or Montague, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But yeah, he learned from those
with
tomes
the name like that. You have to fight
that
monsters.
the
I think
priests kept from like the 1100s. That the monks had preserved. He learned from those, and he went around to all these different villages in England and in New England. Okay, what's plaguing your village? Oh, you got werewolves. Okay, this is how you take care of it. And he would take care of the werewolf, and then he'd leave them with manuscripts on how they could do it themselves.
Oh,
that's cool.
I gotta look that up. That sounds cool.
You taught them how to make flamethrowers.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it was like a Scooby-Doo thing. He like threw in a friend like to wear a costume beforehand.
I saw him as like Solomon Kane before there was Solomon Kane.
Cool.
So
yeah.
Cool. Montague Summers. I gotta look him up.
So that is our number 10.
Well, I didn't get to my number 10.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
What was your number 10?
So I'm going to start at the end. I went back and forth on what was there. There was like a short list, but ultimately I knew. I was like, what belongs in the category of my others? And that is Lovecraft's final story, Haunter of the Dark. I love this story. I'm not surprised I don't see it on more top 10 lists. I think it's some of his best writing. I think it encapsulates like it's pure Lovecraft. I think it's great. I think it hooks you from the beginning and it keeps you until the end. It has like a very circular nature. Now, obviously, how many Lovecraft stories start with this guy died? Hey, that's weird. Here's who discovered, and then loop back. But this story, it does it some of the best. It's done. I think there are so many visuals that really stick with me. I like, again, kind of like with Shadow over Innsmouth, the slow, meticulous. We're watching him as he goes and discovers this. Oh, here's this place. And unlike Shadow over Innsmouth, they're not just openly the church. I like that there's all these little details, like this mom's kind of taking the daughter, like, no, don't. That guy's weird. Or don't go near that church. And it's kind of just, it's slowly ramping up the tension. And then you find out about all these secret societies. And he just like touches it, I think, if I remember correctly. And then you have all these cool visuals, like where they have the torches out at night, or it's the flashlights, I forget, lanterns, something like that. And there's something that goes up into the house. It's so words on a page. It's so visual.
Is that the one with the shining trapper?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
And the creature comes out of the angles of the rooms.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's such a shame because you could tell. I mean, his last bunch of stories. I haven't read Evil Clergyman, but I was looking at this book. It's towards the end of his career. It was like he was firing on all cylinders, like Mountains of Madness towards the end. You look like if you look at this whole thing, it's like towards the end, it was just bang, 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 and you could just tell with Haunter of the Dark, he was getting better, and he was just getting started. And I think it's just a great story to end on.
Yeah, that was my number 9 actually, and you're right. This is
transition.
This is kind of peak Lovecraft for me because if you go to his earlier stuff, like your eyes will just gloss over like 10 paragraphs, and you'll say like, did he actually say anything in there? Because it's just so wordy. Even for the time, it was very wordy.
Yeah.
But like he really learned how to pare it down, and it's still very well described. He's using the language well, but he knows how to now cut the fluff. So it's only the important stuff that remains.
My friend had me convinced that Lovecraft was paid a penny a word.
That would be insane.
I believed it for years. Yeah.
People complain about the architecture porn, but I love it. Like, I don't know if I'm the only person. I want to hear about
You're not the only person.
The sagging gambrel roofs. Like,
that's Pickman's model. I used to skip the first third of that story whenever I read it, and the last time I read it, I was like, I'm really digging the architecture. And
I mean,
it depends. It depends on your mood.
To prevent witches to come in.
Sometimes I'll read the story. Sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook, and sometimes I'll just go, all right, what's the summary? That's some good stuff. Like if you just need the quick dose of Lovecraft, you go the summary. You're like, oh yeah. But no, I Haunted the Dark. I agree. I think if it was one of his earliest stories, what was better about his work as he went on is the works got longer. Like you started doing his longer stuff, but they were denser. There was more happening per page. More like you said, it would have taken 8 pages for him to get to what he gets to, probably within like the first. Like he goes through a couple different settings in the story. He's there. He's walking up the street. He sees a couple people. He has conversations with multiple people. A lot happens. And the page count, it's not that big, right? Isn't it like 16 pages?
In his earlier works, he was trying to emulate more of the writers of the early 1800s, and let's face it, those writers, unless you were writing something that was supposed to be consumed by the masses, were very wordy. I mean, and then there's also work from the 1700s as well that had a huge influence on him too, like Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens I know is 1800s, but the point is that since all that Lovecraft had were the books that he had access to, he didn't have editors, he didn't have people to read his manuscripts. All he had to go off of was what he enjoyed reading, and he was trying to mimic that, and that's why you got a lot of that overwritten.
I'm going to push back on that. Actually, he did have editors, and he did have a lot of people he was corresponding with and giving him feedback. What his obsession was is that he wanted to be Poe, and that a lot of his work,
and Lord Dunsany before that,
and a lot of his work was weighed down by him trying to copy Poe's style, and that's why you'd often get verbiage which is like, what the hell is he saying? I'm being honest. I mean, there was like
my comic.
What?
Don't read my comic.
So Fabrizio, what's your number 9?
This is probably my favorite, but it's Rats in the Walls.
Oh,
nice.
Speaking
of Poe, this is his, his classic like redo of a Poe story. So the things I love about it, it's a very famous one, but out of all the Lovecraftian stuff, I love the tactile stuff. there's no alien gods in this. There's just some de-evolved things, society underneath an old castle, and I just love that idea. I also love that you just get a glimpse into the society. Hey, there's some architecture over there that's from this period. No, there's some architecture over here from this other period. You really have no idea what went on. You just get a glimpse of, well, they were eating and some sort of society for hundreds of years. So anyway, Rats in the Walls, love it. I will say the caveat for me was, if you're squeamish, and if you have rats in your walls, you probably don't want to read this book.
This is the one they had the two colored eyes, the family?
No.
Which one am I?
This was the one with the cat that has a very offensive name in 2025.
That's right. I forgot about the cat.
How can you forget about the cat, dude?
Oh, this is the one he's restoring the house.
Yes.
The cat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, this one. All right, so this is my number 5.
I have this at 4.
I had this. This is a one where you can see it's like they'll have the essentials, and they'll always have like the Cthulhu mythos essentials. And this is always if there's one. Oh, technically it is. Technically, you could argue like most of them can be Cthulhu mythos. So this is technically, but anyway, it's not core mythos, right? But this is always thrown in. It'll be like called Cthulhu. This is it, and then this one always makes the cut, even if everything else on there. And there's a reason for that. It's because this is a horror masterpiece. Part of me wonders if in some ways it's held back being by Lovecraft, because I just think in general this is one of the like most effective horror stories I've read. I remember reading it fairly early on, and it's describing this family history, and I'm so bought in, and it's like every little detail is interesting. It's like, what? So he killed the family and they celebrated? What's going on here? And you're just slowly, once again, it's that Lovecraft does this a lot, and it's one of his best examples. It's the slowly pulling in, and then the twist at the end with the rats in the walls. They're not actually rats in the walls. There are none. And then it just in the end, like Nyarlathotep is. I think the implications in Nyarlathotep. What did he do?
Nothing. Not in Rats in the Walls.
No, he's mentioned at the end of Rats in the Walls.
Am I misremembering this? I don't remember that at all.
When he's like freaking out, he says, Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, when he's like talking gibberish.
Which in to me
in his fear, I think he starts like invoking names or something like that for protection.
Yeah.
Does he?
Well, Nyarlathotep is kind of the closest thing we have to a conventional Western-style god, or in the mythical sense, in the Lovecraft mythos. And he was the kind of a Loki-esque, or even worse, a trickster figure who just enjoyed screwing with people, waiting until the end of the universe.
That's true.
Oh, he's typing.
Yeah, in the gibberish, I think maybe at the end he mentions it, but I don't take that as like he orchestrated this thing. I've never taken it to mean that.
Though? I mean, I don't care either way. It works on its own. If anything, it makes it more complicated. But I just.
To me, and maybe I'm wrong, I took it as, he's the whole story. His family has been accused of practicing occult things and various evils, and he's like, no, I'm totally not like them.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, like at the end, he's throwing out these occult names, which to me indicates like he was going down the same path. Like, he would have been the same.
I didn't think
that's how I got that.
No,
I thought he was like invoking names for protection.
Either way, he knows the names. I didn't think about. I thought that it was the spirit of his ancestors. I didn't think it was who he. I thought he was like possessed, almost like it was like down in like his maybe not biology, but like that it was like a family curse. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because I mean, the whole thing is about it is this interesting concept that we've sort of thrown out in the modern world, which is bloodlines. Like they sort of could understand through genetics, like you will have similar traits to your father or to your mother or grandfather or whatever. So they assume that was in the blood. And then, if you came from a line of kings or a line of evil sorcerers or whatever, you would inherit those same traits. So
Genetics, right? So like, wasn't that one of
Yeah.
the theories? Like,
yeah.
you could evolve, de-evolve,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, like, and that was like Lovecraft's bread and butter. Like everybody talks about his racism, but it's like, man, he was harshest to poor white people more than anything else. Like,
Yeah.
they were.
The one thing he hated most and was most terrified of was white trash.
Yeah.
Here, the line is, it was the eldritch scurrying of those fiend-born rats, always questioning for new horrors and determined to lead me on, even unto those grinning caverns of Earth's center, where Nyarlathotep, the mad faceless god, howls blindly to the piping of two amorphous idiot flute players.
Mhm.
So I
He
guess,
knew about all this.
Yeah.
I guess he knew about it, but Nyarlathotep may not necessarily. It may be involved, maybe not. Regardless, outside of that, it's just, I think it's
Like,
it's a
he's
horror
like
masterpiece.
Yang said, he's pretended to be above this all, but meanwhile he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
That's
all right.
interesting.
So yeah, Vaughn. Oh no, that was yours. Rats in the
No,
Wall.
that wasn't
that
my
was
number
mine.
Oh
nine.
no, sorry, that was yours. What is your number 9?
My number 9 is funny enough. It just the way it ranks out. Oh wait, no, did I switch it at the end? Hold on, I have my. You know what? All right, I'm gonna. Yeah, my number 9. I'm gonna go with his second to last story, the one he wrote right before this. It just so happens that my last two are my 10 and 9 are his last, and then second to last is The Shadow Out of Time. If you want to argue,
Nice
this is
pick.
one of the
Yeah.
best. If you want to argue it's his best, you could even argue that, and I wouldn't fault you. I think it is. I was blown away. But first of all, the concept of this story is one of his best concepts, I think, ever. It's such a genius concept. And it's so trippy, and it's so from a lore standpoint, it's one of his best. Into the mythos, from a creativity standpoint, it's one of its best. It's once again, it's what Lovecraft. What I actually at first kind of felt that, like, oh, it's just his concepts, really is what he's known for. But I really, the more I read of his stuff, the more I got to appreciate the way he's able to unravel information through the eyes of a character and through a discovery. And I think this is where it's really cool. It's like, I'm missing these parts of my life. What happened? Okay, aliens, what? There's these other creatures, what? And then that whole reveal at the end where it's pretty obvious, you know what it's going to lead to, right? That he's going to find the text, but it's the journey to get there. It's a little long. It's a little bit long, but it's still good.
I don't know.
Really
I think
good.
it's kind of a good companion piece to At the Mountains of Madness, and I think it achieves a lot of the things that At the Mountains of Madness did, but I think it did a better job of it. Also, there were some real high concepts in that story that at the time were pretty much unheard of. I mean, the whole idea for the television show Quantum Leap is in that story.
Yep.
And I mean, we have her character inhabiting the body of an alien while the alien is inhabiting his body. And while he's living in the alien world, he's hanging out with Conan, who's also been body swapped.
Wait, what? Is that?
That's in there. Conan makes a cameo.
One of the things that I find this, like, I wonder if, like, the inspiration for the story was like him reading journals of like schizophrenics and stuff, like explaining just really bizarre. Somebody just acts differently for a while and then snaps back to normal. And like I remember driving, and at this point it was when I was driving around the country. Like, there was no radio or anything like that, and I was just thinking about this story, and like how terrifying is that? Like, you're not in your body anymore. You're in an alien place, surrounded by monsters. You don't speak the language. Like, he had to learn a whole new language, manipulate different, and then, and then you come back and you find your body was like building ray guns and machines. You know what I mean?
And writing
like,
in English.
And what was I doing? And people just like his own children were like afraid of him. It's such a, like, I think that a lot, like, we all talk about tentacles and Cthulhu monsters with Lovecraft, but I think one of his biggest things is identity. Is like one of my favorite stories, The Thing on the Doorstep. This
Oh,
one,
yeah, we'll get to that.
Charles Dexter Ward. All of these stories of like identity is I hate to say like politically correct stuff, but like fluid. Like you literally, your consciousness could go someplace else, and somebody else could take your body. Like this body is just like a shell, and it's this ineffable mind that can be stolen or swapped or altered. Is the true you? I find that to be so scary.
Yeah.
More than monsters and mushrooms and tentacles and stuff.
Also keep in mind that it was interesting and kind of revolutionary that the alien creature, which is pretty bizarre looking, are generally benevolent.
Mm-hmm. They just want to study it, man.
And one thing that I like about them is the Yithians, their bodies, they're also victims because the great race came into those.
Oh no!
The
Bodies
great race.
someplace else and sent their bodies. Oh, did I freeze?
The show.
And they their bodies
great
back to be destroyed in a
He was
catastrophe.
swapped temporarily.
Yeah.
They're going to jump and bypass humans and go to beetles in the future.
That was the Beatles stuff. Lovecraft drops on one of his last, and that's one of the harshest parts. Is that the Mountains of Menace builds off of so much. This builds off of that.
Yeah.
Then Haunted of the Dark comes in, and it kind of builds off a little bit. But there's going to be like your next. This is one of the biggest blocks. Like I'd say, Out the Mountains of Madness is a big block. This is a big block, and you could tell he was going to keep going.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating.
The only thing I don't buy about this story is he recognizes his handwriting. You know what I mean?
Well, who else would have written it, though? He remembers writing it.
But I could see if he recognized the words, but he recognizes the handwriting. Like he wrote with a tentacle.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
The Yithian had like a claw. Like, I'm sorry, but you don't have the same handwriting.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually a big thing. That actually is kind of a...
So I have to admit, this story, it's a good story, but it doesn't creep me out or scare me or do like, it's just, you're on a ride kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of the Lovecraftian stuff I put into categories. And this is just like, you're along for a ride. It's a fun ride. It's interesting, but I don't like, it doesn't scare me or creep me out.
This is one of his info dump stories.
Yeah.
Which normally
this
would work.
Fabrizio heard me tell the script. Like, I don't want to start talking about my comic, but like my first script was going to be info dump the script, just world building.
Yeah,
and that's I think like the Shadow Out of Time or the Whisperer in Darkness. Those are just info dump stories, and they're also some of my favorite stories because I like a good info dump. But like, other stories like The Picture in the House that is just atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's no story there. That's just a set up in an atmosphere and a creepy feeling.
And then it ends because he ran out of page space.
Yeah. They called him to dinner and he was going to finish it tomorrow, but his mother mailed it.
So you're telling me that you weren't unnerved by the rumbling of the giant gas polyps locked up underneath the Australian outback that would someday break free?
So I mean, just
I don't even remember that.
That's how the story ends. He goes down and he finds the underground lair that he'd been living in when he was in the Yithian's body. The whole place has been abandoned, but he realizes that the polyps that they had gone to war with and had locked away were still in there, and they were banging at their prison trying to get out.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
like how many creatures are in prison on this planet, dude?
To me, like a cult in the woods, like chanting, Call of Cthulhu style. To me, that's creepy. Like even more creepy than Cthulhu. But again, it's all So that kind of stuff. It's fun.
Things that could happen are scarier than things that can't happen. Yeah. Like that's why, like the movie The Hitcher is one of the scariest movies to me because there's creeps just going around hitchhiking and killing people, serial killers, but like there's no Cthulhu or anything like that. But yeah, so The Picture in the House terrifies me because you could find some crazy cannibal living in the woods, just like I eat bodies and it makes me strong, and you're next.
All right, so let's see, Rizzo, Vaughn. Did we just talk about yours? Yes. Sorry, that was yours. All right, Kat.
Okay, well, my next one is Color Out of Space.
Oh,
Yay.
Wow,
nice.
we're getting through a lot of
Man.
That's a good one.
I love how atmospheric it is. The creeping doom, basically. Okay.
Blasted Heath.
Yes, the blasted Heath. Also, honestly, I feel like he righted a wrong of H.G. Wells. And that is one of the greatest disappointments I ever had in reading was reading War of the Worlds. And War of the Worlds is one of the most boring stories I have ever read in my entire life because
I got to go, Yang.
Oh, all right.
you can disagree with me. I mean, there are events that happen, but I take problem with the fact that it is second, third, and fourth hand telling. But the point is that you have that plant, that red plant that came with the aliens and is taking over everything and is choking the life out of everything. And I thought that was such an interesting dynamic to the original War of the Worlds story that kind of peters out. And I feel like Lovecraft took that idea and said, "Hold my beer," and really, just brought that dread and that terror that needed to come from War of the Worlds. And then, of course, the Nicolas Cage film just brought it even one step further. So
I just wonder though, would Lovecraft have had a beer? What would he have drank?
wine.
Yeah,
Hold my absinthe or
like
something.
a spritzer or something. Yeah.
His craft
Hold
beer.
my liquor.
Yes, his craft beer.
Yes.
Exactly. His craft beer.
I would have, in defense of War of the Worlds, it has one of the scariest scenes ever when the priest is in the house
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think
What
we
happened
lost.
to the priest?
and the Martians are
Oh,
scanning. Oh, I keep freezing up. This
Oh,
I was still.
okay. But no,
But there's the scene where the priest is in the house and the guy starts freaking out, and the priest kills the other guy to keep him quiet.
no, that
Because
part was good, but that was a teeny tiny portion
Yeah, I
in a long span of when's something gonna happen.
And
I mean, this is War of the Worlds for crying out loud. But anyway, Color Out of Space, absolutely.
in Color Out
wonderful.
of Space, it's great because the alien, if it is a life form,
Yeah.
we don't even know what it is. It is so alien that it's incomprehensible.
Mhm.
And I love that. Like that's one of my pet peeves is you read science fiction and it's they're Vikings, but like lizard Vikings, or like or like Star Trek. They look like us, but just the funny foreheads. Like there's old science fiction like Lovecraft or what's his name, E.E. Smith. The aliens are so alien,
Mhm.
and it seems like the more modern we get, the less alien the aliens become.
My only problem with the Color Out of Space is I watched the fantastic movie that came out a few years ago, and I can't read this story without seeing Nick Cage in my mind.
Funny that
And
you
you,
said that.
you say that like it's a bad thing.
I watched the movie
Alpaca is the
first.
need of the future.
I mean, come on, Nick Cage.
I loved I watched
Valley
the
Girl.
movie first, and then I read the
Mhm.
story. I want to rewatch the movie now that I've read the story. But man, I really dug this story. It's one of my favorites. Because I was like, oh, will it not compare? And that I've seen the movie. No, it's still really good. I think the description, the one thing, and it's just inherent that the story is going to have is I like the way that it's called a colors because like it's not a gas, it's not a solid, it's not a liquid. Like I guess the closest thing we could say is it's a color. Like that they basically they don't know what to call it. Whereas in the movie, it's purple. It's
Right.
purple, and it's and I like one of my favorite visuals in this story that drives me crazy because there's a lot of stuff in the movie that's invented that was not in the book, which I really like. Is one of my favorites, and I forget if it's in the movie or not. Is the trees kind of swaying,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
as if it's trying to mimic, like that's like the uncanny valley where something's under there. It's almost like, and I don't know if it necessarily is, but it almost feels like something that wants to mimic tree moving without understanding why they do. Um, and of course, that unending dread of things just kind of going out there. I think what I like about it is it's pure cosmic horror, self-contained. There is no. I think they do mention the Colorado space in the Mountains of Madness, don't they? They mention it in one of the stories. I forget which one. But this completely on its own. It's like just a pure distillation of what cosmic horror is, beginning, middle, end, and I really like it. I think it is some of his best writing. Again, he gets to the point.
I love the impending doom of the family.
Yes.
Like
It's depressing.
The wife
Yeah.
that falls.
You just slowly it's not like a monster just comes and kills them. They just waste away, you know, and they know it. It's like there's nothing they could do.
And then it surges out like in a like the fact the story keeps going after the family is gone, and it's like all the people. And I think they were in a diner, right? And they're looking, and it like it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And
sorry. I was just gonna say, Ishi, what was your number 9?
The Whisperer in Darkness.
Ooh.
good one.
Your list is like my inverted list.
And the Whisperer in Darkness is one, I like the way that it's told through the correspondence and then later the investigation. I really like that, again, Lovecraft is ahead of his time. Despite the aliens in the story being kind of these weird crawdad lobster type bat creatures, it has a lot of the tropes of modern day alien abduction lore, down to skin suits and mibs and experimentation. It's really cool. I think it's one of those stories that doesn't really get the credit it should.
Yeah, it's a creepy story. Again, a poor guy in a house by himself, isolated, you know, and then he meets this alien creature that explains the nature of the universe to him, you know.
Well,
and
worse than that, I mean, at first they're harassing them. They're climbing on his roof. They kill his dogs.
Yeah,
they screw with him, and eventually he ends up a brain in a jar.
Yeah. I think I really was hooked into this story. I listened to an audiobook version again, and it was, but I immediately. No, actually, it was HB Podcraft. They also did a really good one of Haunter of the Dark and Picture the House. They did it's some of the best narrations from Beyond. If you look them up, they have a playlist. They did it's a really odd list they chose, but immediately I'm bought in. I think the correspondence, it's so unique to this story, like you said. One of the things I like is that it's told from a non-believer and he's slowly bought in.
Right.
The way they're like convincing you through him. And then I get to, but to me, it gets to the point where it goes some skeptic where it's like, oh, I get to, dude, you're falling for this? Like there's a certain point where like you cross the threshold where that is kind of one of my critiques, but I still like this story.
It also kind of counts as using early elements of found footage.
Yes.
Because you have the recordings that he finds.
Or like you see, and I think this story had a lot of impact in how I look into a lot of modern internet horror with whether it's like forums and stuff where it's like fictionalized back and forth exchanges. I think this pioneered that, man. Like I think this story, especially in the internet age, needs to be read more. And we need more people to do this. But I think this story, you see people trying to replicate what was done in this story all over the internet in this day and age, where they'll add, because in this they describe pictures, and you'll see forum posts where they'll send pictures and literally have it. This story is so ahead of its time.
You know what else it has? It has the fact that it somehow made Rutland, Vermont scary.
John, what's your number 9?
The Outsider.
I read that earlier today. I was like, I only have enough time for a few stories. So good.
I read, because it's the first Lovecraft story I ever read. It was, I forget where, but it was in a compilation of other stories. And I didn't realize it was a Lovecraft story at the time because, you know, the Deities and Demigods, 2nd edition, Dungeons and Dragons book with the Lovecraft. When I saw that, I saw all these pictures of all these monsters. Like, what is this guy? So I went down to the library and got book of Lovecraft stuff, and then I'm like, oh, I already read this Outsider because for anyway, it has one of the things that already I've always been fascinated with houses underground. Like I don't know how many D&D stories they would be exploring a cave, and then there would just be a normal looking mundane house just underground, and all the players would go, we're not going in there. Like if it looked like Castle Grayskull, that would be something that you find there, and that's cool. But like this house, like it's like a castle or something like underground. I don't know if it's, you know, if I'm misreading it or whatever, but there's this lone occupant. He's lonely. You know, he's just in the dark all the time. And when he looks up, there's like a light. So he finds his way to climb up, and he finds out that he's buried underground. It's almost like he comes out of like a church tower, but underground. And then he comes out and he starts seeing people, and he's like, "Hi, I'm friendly," you know, but he can't talk. And they're screaming and yelling, and then finally he bumps into a mirror, and he's like a lich. He's like this corpse, you know. Like, so what was it? Was it like this underground crypt? Was it a mausoleum? You know, was it just a castle that fell into a crevasse? I don't know, but I don't know. I feel bad for the monster. He wasn't a bad guy. He was. We don't know what his story is. Was he down there for centuries? You know, is he dead? Is it, you know, a guy with a disease? You know. That's like one of those stories you could bring a lot of yourself into it.
All right, that ended.
Am I the only one with the story even on their list?
I was so close to putting it on there. It deserves to be. It is objectively one of his best. Really, no one else put this in their top 10?
No.
Nope.
I would have yelled.
It's a good story, though,
because it is a great story. I think it's objectively
very Frankenstein vibes.
So he is,
but it's old Lovecraft. It's definitely like more Poe than it is.
Yeah,
Lobster was from Pluto.
Yeah.
All right, so starting off number 8, I have one that probably no one else has. This was one of the stories that he ghost wrote for Harry Houdini.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Pyramids.
So yeah,
That's not my number 2.
Yeah, so this is 1924, and this is really what he starts really getting into the. You can see he's delving into his own mythology. So it's basically Harry Houdini is going to escape from under the pyramid in Giza, which, like, how can you not like that already? So he and his assistant, they're put in straitjackets or whatever, thrown into a pit under the pyramid. Houdini, of course, gets out because he can escape from everything. And then they're going through this underground labyrinth where it starts with, like sort of standard, I guess you could almost say, ancient Egyptian gods. And then they get more and more bizarre. And they get to resemble what we would later think of as his cosmic horrors. And Houdini sees a ritual that is meant to awaken these gods. He's trying to escape. And he wakes up in the desert above, not knowing if it was true or not, but his body bears claw marks, which to me is like, maybe he has done some of these things better in later stories. But this is, it's interesting because in some ways it takes him having to ghostwrite something for someone else to really kick him off into a little bit more adventure type of a story.
Well, this was like the beginning. From what I remember, this was like Lovecraft. Like, I'm going to make it big now. I'm working with Harry.
It just feels so pulpy with Harry Houdini as a character.
Yeah,
and it's written
like,
in
this
a
is going to be
style.
the beginning
it's got
of
action. He
my
gets
success.
to the point.
And what's funny is Houdini never met Lovecraft. It was just he knew that that this guy named H.P. Lovecraft was going to be writing his the story about him. He goes, okay, that's cool. And then he read it in the magazine. And he's like, what the hell is this? I mean, he didn't dislike it. He was just baffled.
Well, because if you read the complete fiction, it has a a description for each one, and it says that the story was commissioned by the owner of Weird Tales and wanted Lovecraft to fictionalize an adventure Houdini claimed to have in Egypt. And Lovecraft basically looked at the story, goes, "Yeah, that didn't happen, so I'm just going to do my own thing."
Yeah.
Well, what
Yeah.
it was there was a story of Houdini getting into bare knuckle boxing in Egypt. So he had this scene of him doing it on top of the pyramids,
Right.
not realizing how big the pyramids are, that the fact that they're not flat tops. I mean, in fact, people would ask Houdini later, like, did you really like bare knuckle box people on top of the pyramids? And he goes, no, that never happened. But yeah, I love that story because I have a huge love for Egypt in general, and I did love Lovecraft putting his own spin on Egyptian mythos, and then you just have the fun pulpiness of it being Houdini on top of it. It's just like you couldn't ratchet it up any further if you
I just
tried.
remember the first time you read it, and you were laughing your ass off, saying he has no idea how far the distance between these things are.
No, he had no idea. Well, because oh god, it was something like he has him just like take a walk over to where the pyramids are. It's like you can't just walk to where the pyramids are from the closest town, or at least at that time period you couldn't. You did need to have some sort of mount, and anyway, but I love it as well because the the description of him going down into the pit, because what happens in the story is Houdini is kidnapped and thrown down into the pit kind of like a sacrifice, and he's able to escape and not be sacrificed, and while he's exploring trying to figure out how to get out, he comes across this ritual, and I you it's totally I had vibes from Temple of Doom, where Indy and Short Round, they come over that pit and they watch the sacrifice to Kali Ma, and it's totally on that level, and I was digging every second of it, even though the description of the gods was totally inaccurate. It didn't matter. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think this is a great story for people who want to be writers, because in some ways this reminds me of like Marvel Comics, where Larry Hama was writing GI Joe, and they had a great Transformers series where the source material that they were given was a little bland, and they were like, I know something to do with this, and you can end up with something that's better than the stuff you were than sort of the nothing you were given to write with. Not that Harry Houdini was nothing, but like
I mean, the
let's
mounds, for example, when you get to that,
Yeah.
if you get to you look at the premise, and it's like Lovecraft. I noticed he did this a few times. He'd get a thing, and he's like, "Yeah, okay." He writes about that for a little bit. He's like, "All right, so now I want to talk about aliens." And be like, "What? That wasn't the prompt at all. Like it was like, oh, Native American mythology, but really, it's about aliens under the ground. You didn't know about that, did you?" No.
So Fabrizio, what's your number 8?
Number 8. So another small story, probably one of the first stories I ever read, is Pickman's Model. So as a very young artist, reading Pickman's Model was pretty fun. So obviously, it's a very famous story. A guy knows an artist doing these really photorealistic paintings of ghouls and all this kind of stuff. At the end, he gets scared, grabs a photo, finds out later it's a photo from life. Great story, great atmosphere. But here's the thing. Ever since I read that story, and I revisit it every 5-10 years, I posted this on Twitter. I've never heard this critique. I'm not saying it's a plot hole, but just hear me out. So he sets up that Pickman is a photoreal painter, okay? When he grabs the photograph and he looks at it, he's like, it was a photo from life. But Pickman's a photoreal painter. So there's no reason to think that Pickman didn't take photos of his painting. He should be thinking he's looking at a photo of a painting. There's no reason for him to think that it's actually a photo from life.
That's true.
So he got freaked out for nothing then.
It's a great story, but it's just one of those things as an artist. I'm like, yeah, he just took a photo of his painting, and he's a photoreal artist. Anyway, the scariest part of that story for me was is the he mentions in some of his paintings that ghouls swap their young with babies. Do you remember this part of the story? Which to me is by far the creepiest part of the whole story. I just picture this ghoul sneaking into like a crib and putting their own like weird thing and then taking the baby. So that's mine.
I love like
yeah
20.
All right, Vaughn, what is your number
pages
8?
of the tunnels throughout
My
throughout
number
the
8
town.
is, we just talked about it.
I might talk, it freezes up.
So we just talked about it. So I think we're going to start moving forward as it goes.
All right.
We Whisper in the Darkness. Oh wait, no. Did I just talk about? No, I talked about Shadow of the Time. Yeah. So Whisper in the Darkness. Yeah, that's my number 8.
All right. All right. Well, Kat, how about you?
Mine was also Pikmin.
Ah, nice. Ishi?
For number 7 or number 8?
Number 8, I think.
Well, it was Color Out of Space, so we can move on.
Okay. All right, John?
The Statement of Randolph Carter.
Ooh.
I considered that for my 10. That was in the running.
That's one of my favorite. For those of you who don't know that story, it's Randolph Carter, who is probably Lovecraft's stand-in. He shows up. He's like one of his only reoccurring characters. Pikmin is a recurring character. He's in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Yeah. He is a ghoul. But he's helping Harley Warren, who's like this necromancer, and he goes down into a tomb. And I'm just fascinated by the technology of the time. He has rather than walkie-talkies, they have a telephone on a cord, and he has like a reel of wire. You know, me being an electrician, of course, I'm fascinated by this. And they reeling the wire into the tomb, and Harley Warren's like, "Oh yeah, it's limestone formations over here, and blah blah blah, roots coming through the walls, and oh look at this, there's carpet," and it just gets more and more alien and bizarre as he's going on, and then he's like, "Oh my God, there's things down here," and then nothing, not even static, just nothing, and then he's like, Harley, and then run, you fool, Harley is dead, you know. And
so good.
When you're 12 years old, that is the greatest story ever written.
Yeah,
dude, it's effective, man. It's good. I like it. I was surprised. I didn't
telling the
expect
police. That's right. He's telling the police what happened at the beginning.
And then what I liked about it too is because I was like, oh, Arvid Nelson would keep telling me Dream Quest is his masterpiece. And I looked and I was like, Dream Quest ties into like all these other stories. Why don't I read some of those smaller stories first before I dive into Dream Quest? And I was like, well, Randolph Carter, this one's simple. I didn't know anything about it. And just jumps right in. And I'm like, oh my God, that was awesome. By the way, does that guy ever come up again in any of this traumatic incident that Randolph Carter goes through? Does he ever bring it up again?
He brings in the Statement of Randolph Carter. He mentions how he got like Randolph Carter is always trying to like recapture the childhood and in his dreams. And in the Statement of Randolph, the Silver Key. Excuse me, I'm getting the stories mixed up. In the Silver Key, Randolph Carter is talking about his past life. And he goes, especially that weird 10-year period where I was led astray into necromancy with Harley Warren and stuff.
Either way, I like it.
Randolph Carter's in 3 stories.
No, he's in like 5.
Oh, he's in 5.
He's in this one. He's in Dream Quest. He's in Silver Key. He's in.
Oh, that's right.
Through the Gates of the Silver Key. Isn't there one? The Unnameable is the only one that he's in that I haven't read.
Yeah.
All right. So,
how could I forget Dream Quest? That he's the guy in the Dream Quest. Yeah.
So moving on to number 7. So I have Dreams in the Witch House, which is one of his later stories. And the thing I really like about this, so it's about this guy, Walter Gilman. He is at Miskatonic University, which is one of the greatest fictional universities in the city of Arkham in the world, where you can be a student of both mathematics and folklore, because why not? And it's great because he starts seeing, or he finds out about this witch, and she's able to move through different dimensions by drawing geometric symbols on her walls and whatnot. And so he studies, and he's able to do it uh, until he comes across a rat face guy
Brown
who
Jenkins.
Brown Jenkins.
Yeah, terrifying creature. Yeah.
And so Gilman is forced to sacrifice an infant to Nyarlathotep.
Nyarlathotep.
Nyarlathotep. Thank you.
Nyarlathotep.
Sure, that guy. And like a lot of stories, he's eventually found dead. But I really like this one because it's something that was very new for the time, was a blending of folklore and science.
Yes.
Because at the time, like, folklore was like old people, like loser stuff, and science was the new hot thing. And Lovecraft's like, no, they're two sides of the same coin. So I mean, to me, that really started that whole trend off. So I got to give it to this one.
Love this story. I'll just use this one as mine. I absolutely love this story. Yeah, it's a witch, but it's not a typical witch. It's like this new version of a witch, which is terrifying. The Brown Jenkins is like, is it cute? Is it funny? No, it ends up being terrifying in the end. But at first you're like, oh, I can't remember how they describe him.
Yeah.
Is it like
I'm like, oh, it's a rat in the wall. Again.
Yeah, I can't remember how they describe it, but I remember thinking, oh, it's like a raccoon or something like that. But it ends up being terrifying. And I just love, again, it's a house thing. Like he finds the room that she was in, or maybe it's the room below that she was in, or something like that. Like when you're staying in a new place, you always think about all the stuff that happened before, like, if it's 100-year-old house or something like that. So anyway, love the story.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to reread it. I remember liking reading it again, partially audiobook, partially whatever. So reading it nonetheless, and this is a lot. I'm like, man, so we're going like the rat thing, then we're going to this place, then we got a baby. It covers so much crazy ground. And it was one of those where I'm like, I want to come back to this one. But I think it's definitely one of those more unique stories.
Yeah. All right, Fabrizio, what do you have at number 7?
I mean, I'll just do the Dunwich Horror. So
Nice.
I mean, that's a classic. That's probably the one that I've revisited the most over the years. This is a funny story. My brother lives in Wilbraham in Massachusetts. And I found out years later that was Lovecraft. Sort of, he drove through Wilbraham, and he used that as his Dunwich. Oh
wow!
I'm like, hey, my brother. So I always mention that my brother lives in Dunwich. I mean, it's got everything. Now, again, my favorite parts of the story, it's not even like the actual monster with the tentacles and the giant face. It's Wilbur. Like, to me, he's like the scary part,
Yeah.
So it's like he's human and half in this. So like seeing him grow quickly is really creepy. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like there's two stories, and it's kind of like
there's
the
like
first. It's two stories. I would have been totally fine with the end of the Dunwich Horror is where Wilbur's dying in the library, and they discover all of the weird things on his body. But
they rip off page 351, right? Is that what?
Or 751.
Page 751
Yeah.
That was missing from his copy, so he had to go rip. Page.
Yeah.
And that's where I had to. I was just rereading that at the start of this. That's why my head was down. I was reading this beforehand because I wanted to determine my top two. Because this and another one are my top two, and I'm not going to say until we get there. But dude, I adore this story, and I liked it even more reading it again. I think this story is Lovecraft at his absolute best. I think I remember going in not really knowing much about it, It was just what is the Dunwich horror? That could mean literally anything. And it was when, okay, this kid's getting older, getting older. And I think when I realized how good this story was, also reading it again, this is one of the most important lore drops of the Yogg-Sothoth, where it's like he is the gate, he is the key, he is the spaces in between. And when it's so creepy. The townspeople, and then you slowly set this trio. I almost likened it, if I were to make a movie of it, almost like a Jaws-like trio that goes up in the mountains and deals with it. But then you also have where it goes, oh, he gets mauled by a dog, and then, which first of all, weak way for Wilbur to go out. Come on. But anyway, then it's like, and that was the prelude. And you're like, what? It's still going? And it's like an eggshell. And then it becomes this like kaiju almost movie, but with horror elements, and it works. Reading it again, because the first time I kind of read it as that segmented part, but reading it a second time, like it does work so well, because the second time I was reading it for the second time right before this. I knew it was one of my favorites when I first read it, but right before this and even during the beginning, I was rereading, and it's like when it's setting up every little thing, like there's the weird attic. Why is it going on? They removed the roof between the attic, so now it's just the basement and then most of the house. What's up there? And you have all these hints that it's dropping you. It gets better each time you read it, and it incorporates. It's like the rundown New England town. Check. The hatred, the absolute hatred for poor white people, like John was mentioned. Check. Cosmic horror. Check. Weird cults. Check. It hits like every Lovecraft box. It's so well paced. I think this arguably is his best work. It's some of his best work.
Tell me,
is very personal to him. I feel like Wilbur is slightly based on himself, because he was raised by like a grandfather and his mother, both of which had mental issues, and then he was very much alone and felt isolated his life. Right.
I always felt bad for Lavinia, Wilbur's mother.
Yeah.
Like, was she a captive? Was she into it? Like, was she retarded and they just used her? You know what I mean? Like, what was this poor woman? And she was like an albino.
Yeah.
Like,
they described they were like, she's ugly. I'm like, all right, Lovecraft, take it easy, man. You don't need to
like was she already like was she prepared through generations? Like, or was she just like somebody nobody will miss?
Yeah.
It's a real.
Also, I love that the townspeople are like, yeah, there's some like weird shaking and kind of rituals every story. We kind of just don't do anything. I'm like, what do you mean?
I remember.
They're just like, oh yeah, the mountains shake every once in a while on this weird thing. They probably do some cult rituals, but that's not really our business. I'm like really? But I don't mind. It's so good.
So Vaughn, what was your number 7?
My number 7. Let's go. I guess I'll be the one to drop it. Call of Cthulhu. So I was, the first time I read it, I wasn't as crazy about it, and I liked it. I always liked Cthulhu, and I was like, you know what, I should probably read the story. And I read Call of Cthulhu, and I remember liking the concepts, but going, it's really cool. And then a long time passed before I listened to The Shadow over Innsmouth, and then I got into reading Lovecraft with Rats in the Walls, and finally I go, let me reread Call of Cthulhu, and I did. And I'm going back to it, I was blown away by how good this story is. The opening lines of this story are just like so good, as well as the closing lines. And I think the way it's structured with once again the pieces kind of coming together. There's this thing here. What does it all mean? And everything's kind of coming together. And kind of the sense of impending doom, the sense that we're all so small. I think it works really well. I think it's a very well done story. Do I think it is his greatest story? No, I think Cthulhu is probably the coolest monster, especially in terms of the visual look, by far. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say he's the coolest. And
he defines the tentacles,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dragon mixed with the octopus head, I don't know. It's just I think this is a very solid read. And I think he does some of his best prose and some of his best, like even the opening
I love that
lines.
it's a mystery story that this guy has to travel a world and solve this mystery. That and I love it. Just like, okay, we find this text in this book over here that leads to this.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
like
like-
an adventure movie, and then at the end, instead of it going, "We gotta stop it," it's me going, "We can't stop it." Like that's it's kind of like, well, after finding the answers, I've decided nobody should find the answers, and I'm gonna die.
Well, really, all they need to kill Cthulhu is just a steamboat
That was the surprising part,
with
right?
some decent speed behind it.
Well, keep in mind, unreliable narrator there. We're getting it third hand.
We also have,
Well, I talked with Sandy Peterson, the designer of the board game, the role-playing game Call of Cthulhu and everything, and I said, Cthulhu's not that much of a threat. You just hit him with a boat, and he says, "Was that Cthulhu?" He goes, it's not. He goes, "That could have just been one of the star spawn." We don't know that. The star spawn are huge. He goes, and his theory is, he goes, Cthulhu is the high priest. He goes, maybe he woke up first, and what he does is he channels all the power of all the star spawn. So, like, when he first wakes up, he's weak, but as all the star spawn collectively psionically gift each other, he gets more and more powerful and could move planets. He goes, he probably got him at the only time he was vulnerable, as he was waking
he was
up.
probably, and he also probably was like, he got hit, and he's just like, I'll go back to bed. That's the thing. We don't
5
know.
more minutes, Mom.
Yeah.
I don't have coffee yet.
The call of coffee.
It's funny,
Yeah.
the beginning of Call of Cthulhu is like the whole, correlating all of its contents would make you go crazy. I was in.
Oh, sorry.
It's just a little story. So anyway, I'm reading this book. I'm in like middle school or something, and I'm talking to my English teacher at that time, and I tell him, "Hey, isn't this really cool?" And he's like, isn't that Douglas Adams? In Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide from the Galaxy, there's a machine that basically makes you become aware of everything and you go crazy. So,
anyway. In Douglas Adams, there was the machine that shows you your absolute insignificance and your smallness in the place of the universe.
Right,
Except Zaphod goes in and realizes he's the most important thing in the absolute universe.
That's right.
Everything revolves around him. And he already knew that, so that was great.
That's right.
My favorite thing in Douglas Adams is the someone else's problem field. It's like you don't know what you're doing, and you turn on someone else's problem field, and then somebody else all of a sudden like, "Oh my God, what am I supposed to do?" And you just walk away.
I was going to say the thing about Call of Cthulhu is what he was attempting to capture. I mean, it's the story where it most overlaps with Nietzschean philosophy. And that opening quote that he's trying to establish with the most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all of its contents. We live on this placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity. And it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in their own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday we'll piece together such dissociative knowledge, will open up terrifying vistas of reality, of our frightful position therein, and we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee into a deadly deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. And we're kind of here, guys.
Speaking of Nietzsche, he mentions beyond good and evil in that too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Kat, well, what do you got for number 7?
Mine actually was Dreams in the Witch House as well, and
nice.
since we've already discussed it, I won't go too much. I'll just say that Masters of Horror, HBO's Masters of Horror, did an excellent film adaptation of it. In fact, that was how I was first introduced to the story, and then I read the book. So,
interesting.
That's with the girl from Ninja Turtles plays the witch.
Oh.
Judith Long, I think.
I didn't know that they did.
Interesting.
I don't think I've seen any of the Outside of the Color of Space. Now that I've read his stuff,
most Lovecraft movies are terrible.
Most of them are, and that's what got me was, it just said Dreams in the Witch House, and I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing film. And Ishii goes, that's a Lovecraft story. I'm like, it is?
You know who did it, right?
No, I don't remember who did it.
Stuart Gordon, who did Reanimator and From Beyond.
There you go. Okay.
Oh.
So Ishii, what's your number 7?
Call of Cthulhu. So we
Okay. John?
I was getting the Silver Key.
Oh,
Another
Silver Key's
Carter
good.
one. Yeah, it's Randolph Carter. You know, he lost his ability to travel in his dreams as he gets older. You know, and he finds this silver key that at first it's a real confusing story. I think I read this over and over again more than any other Lovecraft story because I wanted to like it, but I didn't understand it. And maybe I still don't understand it. Maybe I only think I understand it. I like what I think I understand. But he ends up like time traveling into his own past. And who hasn't fantasized? Like, if I was 12 years old with all the knowledge that I have now, I'd fix all the wrongs in my life. And, you know, and then when he travels to the point where, so Randolph Carter has a life. He goes through that necromancer phase. Then he goes through this dream phase where he could go to the outer, and then he loses all that, and he finds this key, and he travels back in time and re-experiences his life. And then when he gets to the point where he finds the silver key the second time around, it leads to beyond the veil of the silver key. What the next story? That's going to be my next one. A little spoiler alert. But I just love, like, he does this time travel story, and he backtracks on his own loop, and then when he gets to the point where he does time travel, he spins off into a whole nother story that just, to me, goes completely crazy. And I'll talk about that story later.
Yeah, no, I remember the Randolph Carter. The Silver Key stories are my favorites of the Randolph Carters. Although Statement of Randolph Carter I like. It's Dream Quest. It's a lot. I appreciate how ambitious it is. I'm glad it exists. I think it needed a little refinement, but Silver Key I really like because it kind of like brings everything full circle. It's like you said, it links the Randolph Carter stuff. I have to read the Unnameable. Apparently, he's in that too. But I like
the Unnameable. It's minor. It's you know, it's like what, a 2-page story or something like that.
But I think that that was really special. The Silver Key, it really crystallized who Randolph Carter is as a character before it goes nuts. And again, it's such a shame Lovecraft passed when he did, because I have a feeling things would have gone even crazier.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So you did the Silver Key. So brings us to
right?
number 6.
You're starting. Yeah.
So the Dream Quest of the Unknown Kadath, which is another Randolph Carter story. Mm-hmm. And basically, he sees these beautiful cities in his dreams. I think it was 3 times. And then it vanishes and he becomes obsessed with finding it again. I like this one because this is one of the better, like, Lord Dunsany type stories, where it's just kind of stream of conscious weird stuff in dreams. Even Tolkien was doing stuff like this with like Rover Random. And so to me, it's great. We also get to revisit some places. He goes to Ulthar, where no man can kill a cat. He goes through Celefius or something like that.
Does he go through Sarnath? I forget. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And over enchanted forests and seas. And this is, to me, this is kind of like H.P. Lovecraft does a fairy story.
Yeah, it's like H.P. Lovecraft's Lord of the Rings, and that I think it's really cool in that respect.
So that's just why I like it.
It's fun.
I like when he goes to the end of the world and he sees what the god on the statue. Mm-hmm. Like for the longest time, you can only see the back of their head, and he finally makes it to the front, and he sees what the original people look like, and then he uses that to find the old. I just love all that crazy.
Yeah, I think that's fun. The one part that infuriates me, though, is when they go, the cats are like, all right, we saved you. We can take you wherever you want. And he goes, take me to the port so I could go to where I want. Why don't you just go to where you want?
That
infuriates, unless I'm missing something. But whenever the cats show up and the cats are brutal. They are the MVPs of the story. They're so good. But no, I think this is a fun story. Doesn't even like the King in Yellow make a cameo too?
Does he?
It's
been a while since I've read it. Not sure.
It's a nuts story from
But I
beginning to
I
end.
do.
And Pikmin makes a cameo. It's like there's so many. The white ship there has elements in there. It's like kind of like everything comes together for this story. Um, it's fairly
I like
lighthearted.
he beats Pikmin and shows that like Harley Warren and Pikmin and Randolph Carter, they all knew each other.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's trippy.
Yeah.
I'll just I'll just say that.
I think I need to. I've read it like twice. I think I need to read, or like kind of. I need to read.
All right, Fabrizio, what's your?
I
number
mean, the
6?
only thing that we haven't discussed on my list is Mountains of Madness.
It's my number 6 too.
Oh,
I mean, it's
interesting. Yeah.
it's classic. As far as like my favorite parts, I don't know.
Well,
You have to be in the right mood for me. You have to settle into this story.
see, to me, that in the Mountain of Madness is where he perfects the Lord Dunsany type adventure, like when he's going through all the history of the universe.
Yeah.
It's really similar to the Dream stuff, but like it feels more dialed in. So it's not as like out there fairy story. It's kind of similar, but like it feels more grounded.
Yeah, I will again say nothing in the story like scares me. It's
Yep.
it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. Like the world build, all the history stuff is just. But there's nothing that really like unnerves me. I'm not gonna. But
I like when the creatures wake up and then they do experiments on the people.
yeah,
And then they come back and they find the other explorers dead and a couple of dogs dead, and they're like, these things, not only are they awake, but they do experiments too. Like we did it on them. Like, are we any different? No.
I don't mean to diminish the story at all, but sometimes I have these images in my head which is unintended, and I'm like, okay, so these creatures are awake. They're doing these experiments basically. So I immediately put like masks on them and they're wearing gloves and
I think at the Mountains of Madness,
forceps.
what I think is cool, and I think going back through, it is definitely a heavy lore dump. What I like about it is like the way it starts off the story, where it's like, all right, fine, I'll tell you what happened if it means doing this, and it gets to the like the whole part where it's like we find this rock. It's older than human history. There's a graving, and again, it's the buying in. I think some of the best parts are also some of the quote unquote worst, which is where they go in and I'm like, how do you interpret all this from statues? It's like all these like specific. It's like they just sit there and basically it's just like. So okay, they walk through the city for what, a couple of hours, and they find out everything they need to know across millions of years of history through walking through. And they say that they fly over this city for like it goes on for miles, and everything they need to know is within a block.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Well, I like the conspiracy of it. Is they all agree they're not going to tell
Yeah,
anybody.
that I liked.
And then they retell the whole story with like more details. Like the first time you read the story, it's like we're at the 14th latitude and this latitude, and then they kind of retell the story again with more details. And then like you said, I love that we find out like all about Shoggoths and everything. The only thing is everybody has different. What did they see at the end that drove that guy? Like when he looked back in the plane.
Yeah.
Is there any definitive answer of what he actually saw?
No.
I've heard some people say that he sees Azathoth. Some people say he just saw a Shoggoth.
Both are pretty awful. But
What's that?
Both are pretty awful.
Is the Shoggoth? They're just why aren't they coming out?
Because apparently they're affected by cold. Is that?
Well,
Right.
I think on a deeper level, the horror that was supposed to be intended in that story that I think was missed was it was written as kind of a parable for the era that they were living in, and what he saw was happening as he essentially was seeing the degradation and the fall of the West, and that the great old ones were, in a sense, a commentary on what he was seeing happening around him.
Right.
And that the over-reliance on a slave race.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. See,
And
that's
that in their own decadence
Mhm.
and faith in their brilliance and their science, they destroyed themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think At the Mountains of Madness is at times, in some ways, one of my favorites. Like, it was lower on the list when I was going to do this podcast with you guys earlier, and then it keeps bumping its way up because I keep thinking about it more and more and more. Because the fact of the matter is, we can poke fun at the story all day. There's a lot of goofy stuff, like I mentioned, but at the end of the day, what it does right, it does so right that it works. And I
It also,
love you see all the pieces connect together. Like, I'm glad I read this after Whisper in the Darkness about, and then it also would make me go, hey, like if it mentions the Nameless City, I haven't read that yet. Let me go over here. And I like that all these pieces kind of click together through this story.
Do you think
It's always the worst times.
I know.
Del Toro will ever get a chance to make this movie?
Hold on, he'll come
I
back.
agree.
Yes, I do think a lot.
the
John, are you there?
Is he frozen?
Yeah,
No,
there's a storm overhead, and I keep freezing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was asking, do you think Del Toro will ever get a chance to make this movie? And if so,
No.
No.
will there be race swapped, gender swapped people? You know, because there's no women in this story whatsoever.
No, I think also I watched a video talking about his treatment. It sounds like it was going to be like a knockoff of The Thing, and I don't think, which is weird because like The Thing was very bunk from this. It didn't seem like it was going to be the existential thing. They'd have to come up with a more interesting way to get the exposition than just they look at
Right.
stuff.
It wouldn't a flashlight on the wall. Like they would have to go like cutbacks to like, you know, animation or whatever, puppetry or something. That would be cool. Claymation.
I poke fun sometimes, but when I'm reading it, I'm not like those things don't appear. You know what I mean? Because you're into the story. But later on, it's like.
But yeah, what did Dan foresee? What did we all think? I guess that's a discussion in itself. We don't have to go too in depth, but it could be anything from. I know there's like a bigger city, right?
There was something. There was another city beyond the city that they saw, but they were fleeing something like it was like a shoggoth the size of like a freight train that was just like crushing the albino penguins, and they were flying away. And then I forget the name of the guy who looked back and saw something. Like did he see just the shoggoth finally, or did he? You know, was there like Yog Soggoth coming out? I don't know. As a thought,
or like they mentioned, there's a city. I was rereading Downward Charge just now. There's a city in between the poles, but it's in between the poles. Or they mentioned something in the Arctic, right? I think.
Yeah, I remember there was like another city beyond that city, like that was like a reflection.
Seems like no one has a definitive answer. You know what? Maybe Lovecraft was going to tell us. I don't think he was. But
in his next story that he never got to write.
Yeah.
He was going to write the sequel, The Mountains of Sanity, and explain everything.
Well, yeah. Also, this is probably one of the first stories to introduce the idea of what are they hiding down there in the Antarctic, and ancient aliens creating man.
Dude, this story had such heavy influence everywhere. Like I tell people that have watched The Thing. As soon as I read the story, I go, all my friends have seen The Thing. I'm like, read this story, read this story, read this. Like you see its influence everywhere.
I love all the technical stuff of like how they took measurements, they set up camp. You know, they when they're talking about putting fuel in the fuel from freezing. I don't know. The fact that like working on a construction site and we have generators set up and then we have to add stuff to the diesel fuel because it'll turn to jelly and we can't start it. You got to get there first and turn this. I don't know. I love all that stuff. And then like compound it. It's 1928 and Antarctica. Like how difficult it is for me to go to the airport at in February and January. You know what I mean? In the cold, and then compound it with old-fashioned stuff like the dog sleds and like flying that biplane over that city is a massive feat just in itself. it's basically a piece of wood, held together with such primitive engines,
Yeah, I mean, I just think I think it also helps you buy into the story. The fact that it's so meticulous before it goes off the rails. It's like, yeah, here's how the procedure. Here's what aliens. Oh my god,
Yeah. And let's not tell anybody. Like, they get mad at each other. You breaking the rules. You telling people, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I remember right, it's like years later that the guy's retelling the story and filling in the details.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're planning.
They were going to plan a second excursion. Excuse me.
Well, even though they didn't have many details back then, it kind of reminded me of what we know about the Franklin excursions to find the Northwest Passage and all of everything that they had to go through with the cold and navigating, the ice and the snow and everything. It just, I kind of got that feel from it, combined with you if you're familiar with this film, you're gonna laugh. The movie The Mole People. If you've ever seen The Mole People
Oh, yeah. It's been
from
a while.
1950s Mystery Science Theater did it, where they're looking for a lost Sumerian town in the mountains, and doing the excursion into the mountains, finding remnants of this lost city, and then an earthquake causes their I can't talk, their group to fall into basically a lava tube, and them discovering this city within the lava tube.
But fortunately, John Agar is there to explain everything to us
Exactly.
in the
Where would
most
we be without
most
Agar?
condescending fashion possible.
Let's see. I lost track of where we were. I think that was Vaughn, right?
Fabrizio and I both had
that
about
was
the
last
same
one.
spot.
Cat?
I think that
I
that was Fabrizio's number
Yeah,
6.
mine too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say skip me because, truth be told, I only had 9. I didn't have 10, so just go ahead and skip me.
All right, Ishi.
Mine was Shadow Out of Time.
Nice. John, if you're here, okay.
Through the Gates of the Silver Key. I already spoiled it. So this is they realize Randolph Carter is dead. They don't know where he went, and now they're having his will is being executed, and not his will, but like they're giving away all of his stuff, and his family members are showing up, and everything. And then there's this one creepy guy who is from India. He's got a beard on, and he's the Swami Chandra Pratrutra, something like that. And he's got this beard that comes up to like almost his eyes. He's got sunglasses on and a big turban on, and he's got gloves on, and then finally he tells everybody that he's Randolph Carter, and he's really like a mollusk creature.
He went off
wearing
to
a
the
false
other
beard.
dimension. Yeah, it's
And he
so
tells-
crazy.
Yeah, he tells this crazy story that Randolph Carter went beyond the Silver Key, went beyond time and space, and traveled for millennia through the past, the future, and different planets, and
Azathoth.
met
He met
other
Azathoth
races,
too, didn't he?
and then
Oh,
he
Yog-Sothoth,
met
that's
Yog
him,
Sothoth. And he met Yog Sothoth, and I don't know if I'm hallucinating, but he hinted that he is Yog Sothoth, that he at one point will be, that Randolph Carter becomes Yog Sothoth and then comes back, and he tells everybody the story, and they're just like, are you
And then he
crazy?
goes
We're
into
supposed to
the
believe
clock.
this,
The clock
right?
is like a
And
device.
he goes into,
or something.
he
It's
opens up
nuts, dude.
he goes into the grandfather clock and
Dude, I need
like
to
it's the TARDIS
rewatch
and
this
disappears.
story or reread
It's
this.
the most.
It's
just a crazy story, but I love. It's the most ridiculous. Like, and then my consciousness formed into these insect people, and I lived there for 25,000 years. And
Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just picture this like gentlemanly guy with the pipe. It's just like poppycock. I'm supposed to believe all this. He actually says something a little bit more offensive, but
when he gets to the end of the story, I'm like, whoa.
but I just love. I don't know. I'm fascinated with the
It's
Randolph
such a crazy. He
Randolph
goes from
Carter
like I
character.
like dreams as a kid to I'm like a monster who may become a god. You're like, okay.
In my world, he's somehow related to John Carter, Warlord of Mars, because they both travel through
And
dreams.
I think it's crazy because it's like this is the story that fully like he was dealing with Nyarlathotep, so it was already connected to the Cthulhu mythos. But this is where it goes like into the cosmic stuff. Like Randolph Carter really does take the trip around. Like it's where he fully folds into this stuff, and who knows where it could have gone from here. He probably would have used Randolph again. He clearly couldn't help himself, but
well, Randolph was his stand-in or his insert.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me about Lovecraft is if he wasn't perpetually poor, I would accuse him of taking like large amounts of opium to write a lot of this stuff, like a la Samuel Taylor Coleridge. But I don't know, cans of beans and coffee apparently get you all these
expired
stories.
beans, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I also read that he absolutely refused to do any physical labor. So it's not like he was poor by choice. It's just like he was above. Like HP, we got some ditch digging to do. That 12 cents an hour.
He believed himself a blue blood and above that.
Yeah.
I refuse to do that. I mean, yeah, he was sickly and everything like that, but it's just like, I guess you got to admire. I'll starve to death. I'm just gonna die rather than pick up a shovel.
And he did essentially.
Yeah.
All right, so we have already talked about my 5 through 1.
Same. No, except for one of mine we haven't talked about.
Oh, all right. So for me, it was 5 is Dunwich Horror, 4 Rats in the Wall, 3 The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, 2
we haven't talked about that one yet.
Oh, we haven't talked about that one yet?
No. Oh yeah, that's on my list. Charles Dexter Ward is one of my favorites.
But we'll go through 5. We'll go through. Should we go through our 5s then?
Yeah, we'll just do it. And then my other 2 were In the Mountain of Madness and Shadow over Innsmouth. Charles Dexter Ward is.
So we're going to your 3 now.
That was 3 for me.
But I'm saying because we didn't go through everyone's 5 because we don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so should we just do that?
Sure.
Should we just keep the pattern because
Just,
we'll probably
for the ones just out of your 5. Anything that has been mentioned before, we'll just
okay. All right, that's fair.
Because I think most are repeats by now.
Right.
All right.
Charles Dexter Ward. Go ahead. I this is just like another just world building. It's so creepy. So Charles, he's a normal guy. He's very smart, and he just gets fascinated with
I think maybe I should have picked somebody else.
Lineage and lore and everything, and then he goes away to Europe to.
Oh no!
Oh geez, I'm freezing. I'm so unreliable.
No, that's right. Anybody else want to talk about?
Well, why don't you start? You pawned it off to someone else. Why don't you start off? You like the story.
But this is another one of those stories where identity is not certain, and and I love the idea that this spell is cast through his own bloodline. So the old warlock casts a spell, and sooner or later it'll manifest in one of his male descendants, and he becomes a whole nother person. Like that's a reoccurring theme in Lovecraft is you're not you, and I think that's. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like a individualist extremist.
Yeah, me
like,
too.
I don't do anything, and the whole idea, like the whole concept of like Hinduism, when you die, you become nothing. That's like terrifying. That's like, I'm not converting to that religion because your reward is the worst possible thing I could think of. But like, I won't strike you an entire case, but like I love this whole like ritual, and he casts spells, and he gets all of these books, and then sooner or later the family starts to realize this isn't our son anymore. This is somebody else.
Yeah.
Is the son dead? Is he in the past, like as an old man? We don't. At least I don't remember. Maybe they explained it, but sometimes with Lovecraft, it's easy to forget a detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is one of my favorites.
It
I
is
think
in
this
like
was gonna be-
130 pages. Yeah, it's okay if we forget some details.
All right, for Reese.
all the things. Necronomicon is
Dang,
good shit.
don't you want to the comment on it? It's your favorite story, right?
Third favorite. No, I'm good.
Oh.
So one of the things that really attracts me to it is that it's like kind of like a detective story, which almost makes me think of this as like Lovecraft Sherlock Holmes. And detective stories were popular at the time, so it's one of his stabs at that.
Yeah, I mean, even down to the name, the case of Charles Dexter Ward, which means now again, it's a title that kind of means nothing, and then you go, oh, okay, that's weird. I liked it, I enjoyed it. It's definitely, it's not my favorite, but I enjoyed it. I felt that like a lot of the other stories, I do think do some of this better, but it's a fun read. Like I don't have really any problems with it. I just think, well, I think it was super obvious as soon as you saw the ancestor looked like him, but I think that's the point. You go, okay, they got switched out, but it doesn't matter because now we're trying to figure out, well, what does that mean? How was he switched out? And so that's where the fun kind of comes in. So I did thoroughly enjoy it,
Fabrizio, anything else you have on the list?
I guess there's one, The Lurking Fear. But I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I read this, so I might get the details wrong. But basically, there's a mansion. There was a family that used to live there. Long story short, they live underground and they come up. They're, again, sort of like the devolved sort of family lineage kind of thing. Very rats in the walls kind of stuff, but it's a
that's two different eye colors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only thing on my list that we haven't talked about. So.
And that was what number? What were your top 5?
Well, I kind of reordered as we were talking. I just moved things around. Yeah, I don't. At this point, I don't even know. It's not my favorite for sure.
But it's in your top. Yeah, I mean, Lurking Fear is a good one. It's a fun one. He shoots the monkey at the end, right? Because they're like monkey people. What is it again? It's like there's lightning and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then it turns out they're like monkeys in the hill or something.
No, they're devolved humans. They're humans that are basically reverting back to primitive primates.
I think that
this was like a thing back there with eugenics. Like we either improved the race or we devolved the race.
And I think that there was like a murder in the family, and then they were ostracized. I could be getting this wrong. Again, it's been a long time, and that started the
Yes, they got accused of a murder. Yeah,
I need to rewatch it, but I did read it and I did enjoy it. I remember it was like something to do with the lightning and stuff, and I think it was one of his friends gets taken in the night at some point. I don't remember the exact details, but it's a fun read.
There's a couple graphic scenes in it that are pretty fun.
Yeah, it gets kind of violent, this one.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess it's over to me now, right?
Yep.
So my top 5 rats in the walls, 4 we haven't talked about yet, and that is The Thing on the Doorstep. I love this story, and I never see it like on top 10 lists. Like maybe sometimes.
The funny thing is, Vaughn, I go to a lot of Lovecraft sites. This is like panned as his worst story.
By who?
Yeah,
by a lot of people.
By these nameless people on the internet. I freaking love this, and I argue.
Well,
I love this.
So hold on, let me get into why I love it before you can be a hater.
No, I don't hate. I like it.
No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. So one of the things that I like about it is it feels like it's like a sequel in a way to Shadow over Innsmouth, almost, which is one of my favorites. Like that it deals directly with the Innsmouth folk. Like they straight up will name drop it, and then there's a name drop a bunch of stuff, but that's fine. It's Easter eggs, whatever. What I like about it is, first of all, from the very beginning, it's one of the stronger openings. Like, I shot that man in the ground. He's my best friend, but I didn't kill my best friend or whatever. It's like, what? And then it's like, let me go back. And you see, it's one of the few times Lovecraft has even said that he didn't care about human relationships or writing about that at all. This is one of the few times where you genuinely feel the friendship between these characters. And you see what that horrible woman / old man / fish did to this guy. And it is crazy. It's so bonkers. But what I like about it is it's like a family like drama, or it's like a drama between two friends mixed with a mystery, mixed with cosmic horror elements, and it works so well because it's such a personal story, and you never see that from Lovecraft.
And it works like, even if, all right, so the old man has a kid for the specific purpose of swapping his intelligence into the kid, his mind, so that he could become immortal. Like he don't, but instead he has a daughter. So now this man is now a woman, and then he seduces the other guy, and like they're married, and it's like that alone is just take out the whole cosmic horror and everything like that. Like, you think you're marrying somebody, and it's somebody pretending to be somebody else. Like, I don't know. I find that to be like terrifying. Like that whole betrayal. Like, to me, one of the scariest movies is Rosemary's Baby. Not the whole Satan thing, but the fact that like this woman marries this man and she trusts this man, and then this man sells her to a cult, and like, forget about Satan and stuff like that. Just the whole betrayal of this love and relationship and trust. Like, this guy loves this woman, and he's nerdy. He's like the perfect patsy. You know what I mean? And now he's like, terrified of the woman. And then the woman transfers minds into him every once in a while. Like,
it's crazy.
Again, this identity in Lovecraft, I find it to be that's scarier than.
And what I liked about this story too, because I've thought of like writing my own stuff with Lovecraft lore, is I want to think about like how human characters, because I always approach things from a human character. How do human characters relate with this? And one of my thoughts were, what if someone scientific wants to live forever with the intimate stuff? And then when I got into this story, again, I went to this story completely blind. I was like, oh, it's tying into that thing I was thinking, where it's like, what if someone wants to live like the one of the deep ones and whatever, and hey, this is how he would go about it, and he would swap the mind. And I'm like, that's so cool, and it's a family drama. And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff I would love to see more follow-ups to that kind of story.
Well, this is also like a sister story to Dexter Ward. It's almost the same. We're gonna swap with.
I like it better than Charles Dexter Ward. I think it does it better personally. Is that a hot take?
And then I love that when Aseneth Waite finally gets murdered, she just turns into a blob. Like the body is just like held together by like arcane, and there's just like this pile of goo. It's a thing on the doors. Like, what a title! The title gives you.
Look at that. Yeah, I forgot about that. But that's
thing on the doorstep. It's like,
yeah. The title tells you nothing. So that was my number 4. Then 3, Color Out of Space. 2. All right, so 1 and 2 I switched off literally right before this stream. Like I had my list. Even when I tweeted out, I have my list. I'm confident in it. And then as I was like, you know what? I've reread Shadow of Innsmouth. I haven't reread the Dunwich Horror since I first did. And I was like rereading it literally into the start of the stream. The first couple minutes of the stream, I'm like reading the last couple minutes, a couple pages. And I can say I flipped the 2. So, and that it might change again. Shadow of Innsmouth is the one that made me, even though the first story was called Cthulhu, Shadow of Innsmouth is the one that kickstarted my craze. But I think the Dunwich Horror perfectly encapsulates everything. Like with Lovecraft, I think it's the best, most epic story in a way. I think it's kind of got everything. I think I'd put it higher than Shadow over Innsmouth. But I love Shadow over Innsmouth too. But so it's Shadow over Innsmouth, Dunwich Horror, and those are my top 5.
All right, Kat.
Well, first, I think Ishii had a comment about a thing on the doorstep.
Oh, yeah,
Thing on the Doorstep is in my top 5, and it's an underrated story. It often gets dumped upon quite a bit because, 1, it's accused of being sexist. 2, anyone who knows the background on the story, it is Lovecraft coming to terms with his failed marriage to Sonia Green.
Mm-hmm.
And so using the Innsmouth bloodline and the weird father-daughter relationship as a metaphor for Judaism didn't go over too well. These are reasons why it gets slammed a lot.
I didn't know that.
See, I didn't know that, but it doesn't change the fact that the story is a banger, dude.
Oh, I'm not
Is he
criticizing.
saying that
No, I know
Sonya?
you're not.
Is he saying that Sonya looked fish-like? Like that? Is that like a backhanded insult to my ex who looks like a fish?
You never
But
know.
the thing is I picked that story as well, and I liked the story so much that it is 50% of the basis for Case File Arkham Book 2. Thing on the Doorstep is a merging of that and a Chandler story. I won't say which or it'll ruin it, because the two of them seem to merge so well perfectly together. And the idea of this femme fatale in Lovecraft's universe, and then what she becomes and why, how it affects Derby, and the fact that Derby is a stand-in for Lovecraft himself. And the question is she the thing on the doorstep, or was he the thing on the doorstep that got shot at the beginning? I think it often gets a lot of hate for unfair reasons. But
I never thought of that as his marriage. Now I gotta reread it and think about that. You gave me something cool to think about.
And a lot of it was about, how she was changing him and pushing him to do other things, and how she got him out of the. The only time he had left was at Providence, was to live in New York with Sonia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he wrote Red Hook, which is actually a very good story.
I
But
haven't read that one.
she started pushing him out of his comfort zones and started changing him and started running his life. And that all comes through in the story.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't she? Because it's not like he was a guy who had everything worked out.
Well, remember, Sonia Green is the basis for Robert E. Howard's Red Sonja.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, really?
Oh, I did not know that.
What?
So she
Yeah.
was a bit of a wild woman. Apparently a pretty cool woman from everything, but a bit too much of a woman for Lovecraft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. It sounds
know
like a
that.
Red Sonja.
Lovecraft married Red Sonja. That
That
blows
is
my
crazy.
mind.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
But
And
it's Howard's Red Sonja, not the Red Sonja and the chainmail key.
Not the Roy
Right,
Thomas
yeah,
story.
yeah.
and so when I did Case File Arkham 2, I mean, the story begins with Detective Hank Flynn's friend Derby showing up, and Derby basically forcing a situation where Hank has to shoot him.
I'll have
And
to
it
check that
does kind of retell that story through a Chandler-esque detective.
So I was just thinking of, like, we got a bunch of writers here. Anybody want to make a Green Sonya about who may or may not be a man, who may or may not be a fish, who may or may not want to marry you and change you?
And the other thing with the people of Innsmouth is they actually wanted to escape their fate. The reason that they kept interbreeding with humans was because they were devolving and going back to the sea.
Yeah.
Is the reason? Sorry, say that again.
The reason that Dagon wanted human brides, as breeding stock was because the deep ones were devolving. They were devolving backwards. They were leaving the land and going back to the sea. And so that's why they kept wanting to interbreed with humans, was to fix their genes.
Oh, what? Dagon wanted agents to stay on the land?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think. Wait, when is that established in this story?
It's brought up a bit in this story. It's brought up in Shadow over Innsmouth to some degree, and there's a few others. But the theme of devolving and cultures, bloodlines going stale, is a recurring theme through all of his work.
Yeah, and so that's part of why I keep going back and forth Dunwich and Shadow over Innsmouth, because I think my favorite corner of the universe is the deep ones, because it also is linked to Cthulhu too. Right, because it's argued that Dagon is an underling of Cthulhu, but even outside of that, the whole Innsmouth look and all of that is cool, and then how it ties into this story. I like how it all intersects, but my favorite point, I would say, the Dagon deep ones, and then how it branches off is probably my favorite corner of the Lovecraft mythos. All right, so
Kat. So we were
I have 3 that have not been covered yet.
Wow.
My first one is the music of Eric Zahn.
Good pick.
Oh, that's
Love
yeah.
that.
I was one of my
Honorable mention for me. That was close.
I love that story.
I absolutely love it. I love the you're not sure if Zahn is crazy or not, at least according to our narrator. I have had friends who lived in Boston who said that it's not a joke. You can like turn a corner and then be completely lost.
It's
And
weird.
buildings do seem to disappear and then reappear out of nowhere. And so just this absolute madness that comes from um, needing to play this music. And is it really extra dimensional beings that he is fighting back, or is it his own demons? Is it you don't know, and it doesn't matter. All you know is that it's horrifying. And I absolutely love that, where you're not sure.
And what number was that for you?
I love that
Oh, that
story.
was number
I
3.
love like I love this guy like frantically is like either his music attracted something or it's placating something, or is he a defender? Did he do something stupid in the past and now he's protecting it? I don't know. I always
Was it a
felt bad.
spell? Is he casting a spell? We don't know.
I think he was kind of like maybe like Azathoth with the blind idiot god with the orbiting things that played music to pacify him. I always thought maybe he was doing that in a to something else, or maybe Azathoth himself. But it doesn't matter. But this is the kind of stuff you think about with this story. I love it. How scared he was, and like how frustrated he was trying to communicate with this guy, and he couldn't speak, right? He could only play this crazy violin.
I thought he
And I
was
always
choosing not
Popeye.
to engage, that he was so focused on the music. But
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I just remember that he didn't speak.
yeah, he didn't.
And I picture like those old black and white Popeye cartoons, like the city itself kind of like moves, like in the early not merrily melodies, like the background things, the trees all pop,
Toontown in Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
So what were the other 2?
The other 2 that I have on my list, although I don't know what Ishii has on his.
Eric Zahn was mute.
Yeah, he didn't speak.
Oh, he was mute. Okay. My other 2 was Reanimator.
Ooh, that was I considered that closely.
Yeah.
Thoroughly engaging.
Then my absolute favorite story, because quite frankly it does terrify the crap out of me, Cool Air.
Cool Air is good as hell. That was a good
Cool Air was on my list too. Yep.
Cool
Air, yeah.
Well, okay. I was a 90s kid, and as you can tell from the way my house is decorated, I had a thing for vampires and always will. But it was when I was a kid, I did think about seriously, okay, if you were to live forever, what would that mean? Does living forever mean eternal youth, or does it mean that you age? Do you continue to age and then you're just a walking corpse? These questions actually haunted me. So then I read Cool Air, and it really terrified the crap out of me, this idea that you're basically a living corpse, and if you don't live in the right environment, you're going to rot and you're going to live rotting away. And how is that going to be? It's just that. So that just.
Yeah, it is a creepy story.
So it's like keeping himself alive is what I remember, right? Like
yeah, with air conditioning.
Yeah, he needed to keep the air cool so he wouldn't decay further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was basically a living corpse.
Yeah. That was it. That was cool. That was so it's funny you have I guess your top 2 are both reanimating and keeping the corpse.
Well, I love Reanimator because I actually do really enjoy the original Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I know it because of the style of the writing at the time. She sometimes takes the scenic route to get to the point, but it has one of my favorite moments of any book, and that is Victor is like feeling like he is a god, that he has that he is better than God because he has perfected, God's image here, and he's looking down at what he's created, and then he realized, I have done nothing but cobble together pieces of rotted meat. That is all I have done here. I haven't perfected squat. I am not a god. I what the hell have I just done? And then it opens its eyes.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And after that moment, Victor is just, what the hell have I just done? He's not the, megalomaniac. Well, he is a megalomaniac, but he's not the megalomaniac that we see in movies. And so Reanimator is like, that's what everyone keeps thinking Victor Frankenstein is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
He's
and it's and it's not Jeffrey Combs. I love Jeffrey Combs's depiction. In fact, Ishii and I say that Jeffrey Combs is his spirit animal because of just how he is in that film. But the fact that Reanimator, I'm sorry, he's actually the megalomaniac who doesn't care about anybody, that everyone thinks that Frankenstein is, and that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, I think that's probably his most accessible story.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
that is the story that you could give to normies, and they would like.
Well, normies can read it and immediately see it as the satire that it is. So.
And I agree with you. Frankenstein is amazing. It's a page turner.
Mhm.
I find Dracula to be a tough read,
sir.
But Frankenstein I could read.
I
fast.
have one of the limited edition Bernie Wrightsons for Frankenstein. In fact, I specifically have, I will visit you on your wedding day. I specifically have that image. In fact, it's on the wall behind, in front of me. So.
Yeah, that's one of the scariest lines in all of books.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Ishii, what rounds out your top 5 there?
Well, Music of Eric Zahn's already been mentioned. Thing on the Doorstep's been mentioned. So, well, first off, Pickman's Model, because I thought it was one of his most accessible reads, and I don't know, it's just a brilliantly written, self-contained tale, very short. It's one of the few where it's written in the common vernacular of the time, rather than a lofty style, and I thought that was cool. It's done all through dialogue. And also because it was the basis for Case File Arkham's first book. And that was essentially, it takes the seed that's planted in Pickman's Model, and I have a detective unravel the mystery and find out what has become of Pickman. Natharla because it's just a wonderful poetic piece, the way it's beautifully written. The story, the horror in it, is, again, Lovecraft is not really known for his brevity or his tight writing, and that one is really tight.
That's the one where the guy goes, he's showing the movie and the audience gets sucked in, right?
Yeah, it's almost an Edison or Tesla-like performance.
Yeah.
Wait, which one is this again?
I couldn't remember the name of that one, so I didn't put it on my list. Thank you.
Wait, what was the name of this one again?
Natharla.
Oh, Nyarlathotep. Oh, yeah. Wait, the audience gets sucked in.
Yeah.
Wait, is that what was happening? Because that one is so confusing. I thought so. I thought it was they see a vision.
Well, it's a presentation of film and electrical marvels that seem to defy science.
It's actually based on something that actually happened, where they showed a film reel of a train, and the audience had never seen film reels before, and so they thought it was a real train coming towards them, and they panicked and scurried out of the tent.
Sorry, just quick aside about that. So that was the Lumiere brothers, which if I remember correctly, was I think 1886. And the interesting thing is, in the 1960s, there were anthropologists who went to Africa and they took a movie projector and a movie screen, and they had people there who had never seen movies before, and they played a movie. They were doing things that like these people would know. So they projected an image of a lion on the screen, and they all freaked out. There are some people who think that our brains have changed, so that we can understand the difference between something that's real and something that's clearly on TV or film it's not real. But
Yeah, well, we have learned the language of film. I mean, if you show a modern film, or well, I don't know about modern films; they're a complete mess. But back when films were really good, uh, and actually had cinematography, if you showed that to a primitive people who were unfamiliar with film, they would have a hard time following it.
yeah,
Well, look at babies. Babies don't know what's real and not on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something that,
See, I
that
didn't
people
know
need.
that was what it was. I saw it as Nyarlathotep is showing them visions of the possible end of the world and tormenting them.
That's part of it, yeah.
But he shows the.
But it's the means. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like a World's Fair type sort of thing.
And also, back at that time, there was like guys like Windsor McKay, who was one of the early film pioneers, but he was also an artist, one of the first animators. And so there was a thing called the Out of the Inkwell series,
Yes.
which is basically like you'd have somebody film someone drawing something, and then like he goes into the drawing, and then it's all animated. So it always made me wonder, like, was that one of the influences? Because that was like a big subgenre at the time.
Oh, my friends at the Harbor impressed the most fierce things that was shown on the screen. See, I never took that as, because the way he describes it, I didn't realize it was a film.
What?
I thought, oh, it's a screen, and then it's something horrible happened. I didn't really register it, but it's like, I guess that makes sense. But it's a good one. That is a good one. Just also the apocalyptic imagery. I used it when I was. My friend wanted me to write a comic with cosmic horror elements, and he told me that was that was what jump started my Lovecraft kick part of it, and then the Arlethotep was one of the priority ones on the list, and I read it. It was like the fact that there's all this political uprising, blah, 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 and then just this.
You're kind of cutting out.
Yeah.
Am I?
Okay, now
Glad
you're
it's
back.
not.
All right. It's like this ending of the world kind of imagery. It's such a short story. The introduction to Nyarlathotep. I had to read this, read this for something I was writing, and then when I was writing a nightmare sequence, it clicked, and I'm like, okay, now I know what to pull from.
And the horror of the story is the fact that people are going from town to town at carnivals and kind of like World Fair type displays, and people are leaving in utter despair.
So now I always thought
Kind of like seeing modern Star Wars.
And the and the reality of the film multimedia experience has kind of replaced the reality that they had before they went in. So a little bit of Videodrome there.
I was always confused. I thought it was a brainwash. Okay, hang on. I'm going to read that story again. It's only 3 pages. But
So I have. Oh, I was jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Anything else on your list, Sishi?
From Beyond,
There
because
you go. I only have one on my list.
and because I mean, it's again a very simple story. It's a one and done, but it introduces some really high concepts that again, kind of the weird thing about Lovecraft is, I mean, he was really on the cutting edge of the sciences. He read a lot of the scientific journals. He was on top of a lot of this stuff that at the time was very fringe, or you really had to be, a professor or a scientist to really be knowing about this stuff. And he was putting it in his work. And what's really interesting is From Beyond seems to be becoming more and more relevant by the day as our own physics is reaching its limits, and we're beginning to really start to reconsider the possibility that, well, yeah, maybe there really are spaces in between.
Which is then this was written.
I love this story because it gives the idea, like, if you could perceive these unknown things, you could interact with them. And in my comics that I'm making, I have a character called the Public Eye, and that's basically his superpower, is he could perceive things that other people can't, and therefore he could interact. So, like, he takes out his magnifying glass and he'll be like, that over there. And you're like, what? And now everybody else can see it because he saw it first. You know, he basically pulls things out from beyond perception into our world. And Fabrizio, in the script that I gave you, I mentioned a Tillinghast resonator, which is Arthur Tillinghast, I think, is the main character in who makes the machine that stimulates your thyroid gland so that you can see all of these things.
Pineal, I believe.
So what's that?
Pineal.
Neil Tillinghast,
No,
that's his name?
it's a
Pineal gland.
It's the pineal gland.
Oh, the pineal gland. Oh, I thought I was saying pineal gland. What did I say? Thyroid? Yeah, pineal gland that's the third eye, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's calcified, and this machine like gets it moving again. I freaking love this story. I love that whole concept of there's monsters right here, but because we don't notice them, we don't interact with them. And then as soon as you notice them, these floating centipedes, become something that could damage us and hurt us,
Yeah, and this was because especially you see Yog-Sothoth is in between spaces, and that was written later. So this is like him toying around with those concepts a little earlier, and it's just focusing on just that concept and like what happened if you opened your eyes to this thing, right? And
it was more
in its simplicity, it works.
Well, it was a little more than just opening your eyes. The idea was that the resonator was altering the frequency of reality itself so that we existed in both. We were able to exist in that dimension,
right,
beyond us. Yeah, I love this story. I'm so glad somebody else likes it too. I thought I was going to be the only one to bring it up. I just I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. I'm getting sleepy. So
yeah.
Well, I think was there anything else, Ishi, or?
No, that's it.
All right.
So then,
John, bring us home.
Speaking of sleep, this is my favorite Lovecraft story, so it's funny that I saved it for this. But Beyond the Wall of Sleep.
I've never read it.
A degenerate hillbilly all of a sudden becomes smart, and that must be investigated.
Because of course it's unnatural.
Billy Slater, who's just this buck-toothed guy out, who poops in the woods kind of thing, all of a sudden is speaking and using words that he shouldn't know about. And then they investigate him and they find out that when he sleeps, like he this alien consciousness is taking over his mind. And again, this whole concept of identity could be, you don't even get to control your own identity in your own body. He's swapping with this creature that's being pursued by another creature in space and flying, past the Pleiades and Celephae and all of these stars and everything. And then finally they start to believe him, and he says, look to the dawn, tomorrow, and it's proof. And then because of these two intellects inhabiting the body basically like burns out and dies. And then the next morning there's a supernova, and that proves that this was a cosmic chase, and that's, you were talking about how Lovecraft was abreast of the science. So he must have read about a supernova or something like that, and then retrofitted a story about it. I love all that stuff.
I've never read that one. Wow, I missed your favorite. I
Yeah,
asked you for Lovecraft recommendation, and you never said that. That's one of his earliest.
Yeah, Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and they made a terrible movie about it, but there's a lot of terrible Lovecraft movies. Yeah, but I love that story. Like, oh my God, this hillbilly's smart and using esoteric words. We got to institutionalize him. And they call him like a degenerate, like this is the story that confirmed to me. It's like, whatever you say about Lovecraft's prejudices, the guy is the meanest when it comes to these poor white people, these rural folk,
Yeah. So sort of on the subject of Lovecraft and his prejudices, in in some ways, it's a shame that the world is so whitewashed. Not that I agree with his prejudices or I think we should necessarily have them about these people. However, this is how, throughout history, most of the world felt this way.
Right.
You
It's
hate,
present to them.
yeah, you hated the guy in the next state. You hated,
Well.
this ethnicity, hated that ethnicity. So if you could sort of like get past that we don't actually have to hate people anymore, like I think it really gives you he's got a good window into how people thought about each other, especially if you're from that upper class. Like it's really pretty accurate how they think of lower class people.
Well,
Yeah.
that I mean, there's a couple other things that really bug me about the hatred of Lovecraft and always that, well, he was a racist and he was a bigot, and it's like, yeah, and you know what else? The people that raised him tried to trans him.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's right.
I didn't want to bring that up.
Horribly damaged him, and his parents went insane, and he was forced into poverty. And you know what? He said a lot of things that upset people, and he had a lot of unpopular opinions, but he never hurt anybody. He never did anything horrible to anyone. He never did anything even close to what a lot of the members of the SFWA did. Nothing close to Marion Zimmer Bradley. But she said all the right things, so it's okay.
I still think it's a weird opinion to have of an author. Now I'm gonna letters aside, but his writing. Like we ascribe all of these motivations of all the characters. If they're bad, that means Lovecraft actually had them.
Right.
We don't think Nabokov was interested in children when we read Lolita. I mean, at least I don't. It's a weird. He would be the worst writer ever if he could only write all of the things that he was thinking, his personal opinions at any given time.
Yeah, exactly. I've write stories like a series of horror stories from a first person perspective, and it's like that's not an endorsement.
Right. I have a bad guy in my first comic book who lets something horrible happen. And I'm like, dude, can't I have a bad guy who makes a deal with the devil, do horrible things? Like, I also have a good guy that does great things. You didn't accuse me of being good, because you don't like me. So whatever. You don't like Lovecraft, so he's horrible because Asenath White was not the best woman to emulate, but that's not the point. It's a freaking monster story. Yeah. Grow up.
Well, I'm going to say again.
You're right about Lovecraft.
I will.
His aunt, his sister, his aunt and his mother raised him as a girl for the first 10 years of his life.
Yep. I didn't know that.
And his uncle, his father and his grandfather Whipple died of syphilis, and his father died. I forget what killed him. And then his two aunts died in insane asylums. And if you read about the night gaunts, these night gaunts were these monsters that had wings and robes, and they would attack you in the middle of the night and tickle you. You're going to tell me that Lovecraft wasn't suffering from some sort of abuse as a child? Like, this is me being armchair psychologist.
No, that's why I think the Dunwich horror, I think Wilbur Whateley was in some ways him.
I definitely think that there was some craziness in his. I mean, obviously, when 4 out of 5 people that raised you died in an asylum, syphilis. He was raised
up pretty well.
Girl, and then the monsters are tickling you in the middle of the night. There was some abuse that we don't. It's too late to get a time machine and figure it out. But so I give Lovecraft a lot of birth. He could say whatever he wants. Walk a mile in a man's shoes.
Well, I'm going to repeat. He may have had a lot of unpopular or even bigoted, ugly opinions and views, but but again, he never really hurt anybody. He never did anything awful. He never abused any child. He never, he didn't sexually traffic children.
Right. He didn't even punch anybody as far as I know.
But, again, we can name plenty of mainstream writers that the mainstream are perfectly okay with who have done these things.
Yeah.
But it's okay because they say the right opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I would like to learn more about his marriage to Sonia Green. She never spoke of him. after the marriage, she never talked about him. You know,
I think
was
she
a-
was too much woman for him, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry.
I think she was too much woman for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, apparently, her and Howard got along great.
I know the one thing she said was he was an adequate lover, and that was all she ever said. I don't know about you, but I would be kind of pissed if that Johnny was adequate.
Yeah, I think she ended up in Cleveland at either a hat shop or a shoe
She
shop.
died
she was
in
a
La
hot
Jolla,
girl.
California.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Oh,
She had
interesting.
she had a shop actually on Fifth Avenue in New York. And she was definitely the social butterfly and was really annoyed that Lovecraft wanted to stay home. He didn't want to, go out and hobnob like she did. And yeah, after the divorce, she eventually wound up in La Jolla, California.
Which means she did quite well for herself.
Yes, it does.
Well, she funded him throughout the whole marriage, which is a source of embarrassment for Lovecraft.
Mhm.
He was old fashioned.
Yeah.
Apparently, she didn't mind. But like again, this is a guy who'd rather die than pick up a shovel.
Yeah.
I just picture him sleeping all the time, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm writing. Just leave me alone."
Yeah.
Well,
But I never thought of that she is probably Asenath Waite. I never thought of that. Now I got to reread the story thinking about that.
was there anything else, John, or
No, that was
That
it.
was
I didn't think anybody else was going to bring up From Beyond, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think it is about time that we all pass
I'm
the
about to
walls
pass
of
out.
sleep.
Yes. I'm going to listen to those or read those two then.
But thanks for coming, everyone. The first roundtable authors of excellent renown book review. Thanks for coming. And the 13 of you who are still watching on YouTube, why aren't you asleep?
Because they're watching.
Yeah.
They're fascinated with this
We're,
chat.
we're
They're
fascinating.
terrified to sleep.
They're all in the Hawaii time zone.
Yeah.
Ishiro, can I ask you what are the case file archives? I'm sorry that I don't know what they are, but they sound really interesting.
Case File Arkham 1 and 2. It's a graphic novel series. And I did it with Patrick McAvoy, who was known for the
Arkham
Arkham
Horror.
games. He did artwork
wow.
for them.
That's my favorite. Arkham second edition is my favorite board game.
Yeah, he worked on that, I believe.
Yeah.
But Case File Arkham is pretty much both have their roots in Lovecraftian stories, but essentially I take his lore and I take the general idea of the story, and instead of it being a Lovecraft story, it's a pure Raymond Chandler hard-boiled noir detective tale. And Chandler was writing at the same time as Lovecraft, and his fiction was pretty much spurred from the same social factors. So they fit very well together, the vibe, and putting a hard-nosed detective into the Lovecraft setting works exceptionally well, because Lovecraft's characters were always kind of the story happened to them. They were waiting for doom to get them. They were a victim. Whereas if you put a Philip Marlowe type in there who's going to go out and find trouble and punch it in the face, suddenly it takes on a whole new twist. So the first one...
Are these comics or are these novels?
These are graphic novels. So they're comics.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And
Definitely
they're both
worth a read.
available on Amazon right now. And they're both over 100 pages, I believe.
Nice.
Black and white. But I did everything in my power to make them read like a classic noir, but it's Lovecraft's Arkham. And even he is just, this, guy back from the war who just ends up working as a detective. So he doesn't even know anything about this stuff until it comes looking for him.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I'm going to pick these up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And there's Asneth.
Oh,
that's
okay.
great.
Yasnith in this story is pattern. Her look is patterned after actress. Phantom Lady.
Asnith, is that the name of the?
Asnith Waite was the wife in Thing on the Doorstep.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. She doesn't look as fishy though.
Well, she
You
hadn't
set me up with so many
devolved.
inappropriate jokes there, Vaughn. But I'm just going to be nice.
Yeah, so looks like the one is 20 and the other one is 15.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. Well, on that note, I am about ready to pass out. So,
All right.
so good night, everyone, and thanks for coming.
See you guys. I'll talk to you
Night.
another time, but I'm not going to be.
This was a blast. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank
Cool.
you, Zane.
Good meeting you guys.